Join the show by texting 916-339-1140. Find us on YouTube at Sacktown Sports 1140.
It's time for Alan Stiles and Chris Watkins.
Oh, yes. Happy Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Stiles and Watkins, Chris Watkins, sitting in for Alan Stiles, who you just heard hold down that morning slot. He'll be doing it. He's done it all week. He'll be doing it the remainder of this week. And for those of you who have been listening to this section of the show the past week or so, you know I've been rotating in and out with Brendan Nunez. And then yesterday we had the great Ben Ross. It was awesome to talk with Ben yesterday. Definitely go check out. Well, Ben actually told us that he was going to be at the A's game later today. He was wondering if that was going to be a historical event between the A's and the White Sox, with the A's losing yesterday. Today no longer becomes really relevant. It's kind of just a Wednesday day game. So shout out Ben, who will just be enjoying his day out at the Oakland Coliseum watching some baseball. Not good baseball, but he will be watching baseball nonetheless. Thanks to Ben. Definitely hope to talk to him sometime soon. But today we are back in the saddle with my guy, Brandon Nunez, who is joining us remotely yet again from Southern California. Brendan, how did you enjoy your day off? Did you do anything, or did you just chill?
No, I mean, it was a busy day of Olympic basketball, so
Right.
Definitely was tuned into that, and some pretty exciting games outside of Guy Santos deciding to not make a business decision and maybe get postered by Anthony Davis, and USA kind of taking care of business there. They made it entertaining and kept it close a little bit, but for the most part, you know, still working, just maybe not quite on the show.
Guy Santos didn't make a business decision, but the rest of his teammates did. They just left him out to dry. And AD definitely put him on the poster. We're going to talk some Olympic basketball at some point later in the show today. Team USA plays Serbia coming up. They've already played them twice, once in the showcase and once in the group stage, handled them very easily. Me and Brendan will discuss if Serbia has any chance, because they still do have one Nikola Jokic. And if I'm not mistaken, in one of those two games, in the Jokic minutes, they were even, and it was pretty much in those non-Jokic minutes that Team USA was able to pull away. We will discuss if we think things can go differently for Serbia, or if this is just a bump in the road for Team USA. We've got a lot of good stuff. Of course, we are going to update you with Brandon Aiyuk news throughout the day as it progresses. In about 20-30 minutes, we will get you up to date with what happened since the last time we talked over the past 24 hours. And then a little bit later, we're going to get a little more into the weeds with what is currently being reported and where things stand with Brandon Aiyuk. We're also going to get into some Shams audio where he is on with Udonis Haslem and Mike Miller. They end up talking about DeMar DeRozan and that signing. Is DeMar DeRozan overpaid, underpaid, properly paid? We make that classic discussion later on in the show. And then we're going to re-rack some interviews that we've had with the Kings two-way and younger players this week. Of course, me and Brendan spoke with Boogie Ellis. I think that was all. Was that on Friday or was that on Monday that we spoke with Frank? My goodness. Sorry, Brendan.
Frank.
My God.
You know, I won't take offense to that. Big fan of Frank over here, so that's fine. But I think it was Friday.
Gotcha. Friday, we spoke with Boogie Ellis. We'll be running that interview a little bit later. And then yesterday on the Drive Guys, Kyle Draper spoke with Isaiah Crawford, the newest Sacramento King, who is currently, I believe, on a two-way contract. We will hear that interview at around 11:45. So if you missed that with the Drive Guys yesterday, definitely don't want to miss that. But as Simone put us on during celebrity birthdays, it is one DeMar DeRozan's 35th birthday. Happy birthday to the newest superstar of the Sacramento Kings, the six-time All-Star. And Brendan, I think you posed this question as we were kind of kicking back and forth, what to do to kind of talk about DeMar on his birthday. And I think we went pretty macro here, and it went very, very big picture. And it's something that I don't think a lot of people have discussed when DeMar was brought in. But there's potential here that DeMar DeRozan is a future Hall of Famer. And I think that's the best conversation to have, and a really in-depth one that we can have. There's a lot of layers to making the Hall of Fame, especially the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's not just about how you play. There is contributions to the game and all that stuff. DeMar, obviously, if he is going to get in, it's going to be because of his play. Just off of initial reaction, because I do kind of think that should play. Like, I don't think there's not much analytics going on in that, obviously, but I do think a big part of the Hall of Fame cases is a bit of the smell test. If something smells right, well, then maybe it does make sense. And if you say it and you hear it and it kind of makes you think or gives you pause for a second, maybe it's not as easy and obvious as maybe it might seem to others. Brendan, if I just ask you on the surface, is DeMar DeRozan a Hall of Famer? What's your initial reaction?
That when he first got traded here, Frankie pointed out to me where he's at in all-time rankings of scoring. He's sitting at 36th. He's
31st.
Okay, is that where he's at right now?
I have him at 31st in the all-time scoring in the regular season right now. He's just behind Steph Curry at number 30 and Charles Barkley at 29.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, I think being right behind Steph Curry speaks volumes. Obviously, Curry at the later ends of his career, even if he's still at the tail end of his prime. The only current guys above him, from my understanding, are Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Kevin Durant, and then obviously LeBron James sitting at the top of the list there. Yep. But everybody above him is a Hall of Famer.
Bona fide.
Or if they are not yet, it's because they are currently ineligible to have been inducted at this point. So honestly, at first, the idea of DeMar DeRozan being a Hall of Famer threw me off guard a little bit. But when you sit and look at the numbers, it's hard to argue it. The scoring totals, being probably the best player in Toronto Raptors history. Bosh, you could throw T-Mac in there. You could throw Vince Carter. But if you're talking longevity and what he's done for that organization, it's very hard to not throw DeMar DeRozan in there. And I think we were having an NFL Hall of Fame conversation recently talking about how you can't tell the story of the NBA or of the league without including this guy, and that being a decent qualification, even if it's not technically one. And I think you can't tell the story of the Toronto Raptors themselves without DeMar DeRozan. And ideally, we'll get to a point where you can't tell the story of the Sacramento Kings without DeMar DeRozan. But up to this current point, I think that it's pretty hard to argue.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned, the players that are ahead of DeMar in the scoring list right now amongst active players. I'm going to give you a list of the 4 players. I'll give you the list of the 5 players that are directly behind DeMar DeRozan when it comes to active players in the scoring list. And you tell me just as I go through if this person's a Hall of Famer, and you'll get the gist of it pretty soon. So DeMar is sitting, let's see here, at 23,582 points. That is currently, like you said, 6th right now amongst active players. Number 7, Chris Paul, Hall of Famer?
Absolutely.
Damian Lillard is sitting at 8th, Hall of Famer?
Absolutely. Best shooter outside of Steph.
Giannis Antetokounmpo is currently 9th, Hall of Famer?
No questions asked.
Paul George is sitting 10th, Hall of Famer?
I would think so. Yes.
I would think so.
Sure.
Anthony Davis, number 11 on the current scoring list. Would you say Anthony Davis is a Hall of Famer?
For sure.
There you go. So those are the 5 names that are behind DeMar DeRozan right now in the current scoring list. And then, as you said, Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Kevin Durant, LeBron James are all in front of him. So he is just sandwiched in between 5 Hall of Famers on both sides.
I'll also just add, I don't know which of those current players are going to pass DeMar.
That is a fantastic point. Chris Paul is a good 1,000 points behind DeMar. Dame is about 2,000 behind. Giannis is about 5,000 behind, as is Paul George. And AD is also, Giannis probably will, but besides that, I wouldn't guarantee any of those guys finish above DeMar. Everyone in the top 47 in scoring has or will make the Hall of Fame. These are reasons why DeMar, and I did pull this from an article, so I can't remember which one it was, but shout out, I believe it was The Athletic, who was trying to figure out future Hall of Famers. Everyone in the top 47 has or will make the Hall of Fame. He has also averaged 20 or more points in 10 plus seasons. Just 34 players have done that in NBA history, and all of them are going to the Hall of Fame or are likely heading there. The case for why he won't, Brendan, and I want to get your thoughts on these. This is the case for why DeMar DeRozan will not make the Hall of Fame. He has not stacked up the All-NBA teams. I don't believe he has any All-NBA selections. He has never finished top 5 in MVP voting, and even though he's a 6-time All-Star, it's hard to say he's ever been thought of as one of the league's truly elite players. Do you have any thoughts on any of those?
I do think that there's some validity to that, but I think the longevity overshadows all of that. The fact that he's done it for so long, the consistency of it, I think really just outweighs all of the previous stuff that we talked about. If you get up to top 30, top 20, even that he could really flirt with all time, I just don't know how to really argue it. You know, he's continued to get better throughout the course of his career. He's got obviously at least 2-3 years left just on this contract in Sacramento, let alone if he were to sign another deal after that. So it's really hard to argue in my mind. And I'm sure, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm sure that you could pull names from the Hall of Fame of guys that you could have the exact same criticisms about.
Yeah, for sure. And just for reference here, the names of the all-timers who are behind DeMar DeRozan in total points throughout their career. Dwayne Wade is number 34. Again, DeMar is number 31. Elgin Baylor's 35. You have Clyde Drexler at 37. You have Larry Bird at 39. Pau Gasol at 43. David Robinson at 45. George Gervin at 45. LaMarcus Aldridge at 47. And you have Mitch Richmond, who is frankly who a lot of people say is the line for being a Hall of Famer in terms of accomplishments in basketball career. Mitch Richmond is 48 to DeMar DeRozan's 31. And again, DeMar, of course, has just signed a 3-year contract with the Kings. So you would definitely suspect that he is going to rise up the ranks as he continues to play with the Kings. And again, he's been incredibly healthy throughout his entire career. So there's no reason to think that when this thing is all said and done, DeMar very well could be a top 25 scorer in NBA history. Coming up next, we're going to talk about, was the Kings defense legit last season? And do they actually have a player who could make the all defensive team? Me and Brendan talk about that next, right here on Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
The Sacramento Kings play here.
He's got the triple. Sacramento takes the lead. Outstanding ball movement by Sacramento.
Every triple, every jam, every Kings win.
Sabonis with the jam over the Joker. He's got the three-point shot.
Get your Kings fix all season long.
Right here on your home of the Sacramento
Here's
Kings.
a steal by Fox, a breakaway. He's got the rip with the left hand.
Sacktown Sports at sacktownsports.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Sacktown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
some surprising news, I would say, this morning. Alan talked about it a bit on the crosstalk. Brendan, I know you wanted to talk at some point today, and we can do it now if you want, or we can see if we have some time for it later to talk some G League. But some surprising news this morning, as Adrian Wojnarowski puts out, that Jeremy Lamb, who played 573 games with OKC, Charlotte, Indiana, and then a little cup of coffee here in Sacramento, and definitely spent last season down in Stockton, is retiring from basketball. He announced on his Instagram. Jeremy Lamb was a part of UConn's 2011 NCAA championship team. Brendan, does that surprise you a little bit?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, I think that it wouldn't have surprised me either way if he wanted to keep trying to make his mark in the league. But at the same time, he was kind of fringe of rotations at this point. Like you mentioned, 573 games in the NBA, 17 of them were with Sacramento. So I did kind of find it a little entertaining that Woj's tweet included a picture of him in a Kings jersey, because I feel like everybody should think of this guy in a Charlotte jersey. But at the same time, maybe it should have been a UConn jersey, because that team belongs in basketball history for sure. The Kemba step back in the Big East tournament game winner, where that man literally touches the floor and you hit a game winner, is as elite as it gets. And Jeremy Lamb is definitely cemented in history as part of that team. And part of basketball for sure. And happy for him. I will say that I've asked some people around the league, who's the weirdest guy you've covered? And Jeremy Lamb may have been mentioned a time or two, for what it's worth. I don't want to dive into that.
Okay. I have a lot of questions off it, so I will.
Yeah. We don't need to. I don't want to share too many stories, but he sounds like a very interesting dude, but had a solid career in basketball.
Why not? I guess we'll just leave it at that. The journalist in me, which doesn't really exist, has a lot of questions, a lot of follow-ups for that, but we will just plow on through it. And definitely we'll fondly remember that UConn team specifically. Like you mentioned, that Kemba step back was, for me, like one of the hype video. That and Isaiah Thomas hitting that game winner with Gus Johnson on the call. You play those two back to back, and I'm ready to run through a freaking wall. So definitely right there with you on that. And let's get into the Kings defense. And if we believe that the improvement is as Vivek would say, here to stay, the Kings improved on the defensive end from 24th in defensive rating all the way up to 14th in defensive rating. They were 9th in the NBA post All-Star break when it came to defensive rating. And, it's been a hot button topic in general here in Sacramento with how the roster is currently constructed, which we will also get into if Domantas Sabonis is somebody that we need to be concerned about when it comes to the Kings' defensive liabilities, and if he is, in fact, a defensive liability truly. But Brendan, first and foremost, just again, surface level question here. Do you believe in the Kings defense being what we saw it last season, or do you think that at some point here they are, especially with DeMar DeRozan, going to revert a little bit more towards that first beam team season where they were very, very heavy offense, the most efficient offense of all time, but were bottom 10 in defense?
Yeah, I know we're going to get into it later in the show, but I do think their identity needs to be an offensive team, and you just have to be good enough defensively. Now, how good you are offensively determines what caliber, in my mind, you need to be at on the defensive end of the floor. But I'm really not sure, to be honest. Like you said, going from 24th to 14th, and then their 9th post All-Star break, like they mentioned plenty of times that clearly the physicality the NBA is allowing, more so, even as much as they might want to deny it, post All-Star break helped them out a lot. De'Aaron Fox mentioned it even most recently at his camp in Sacramento, where he's working out with kids and things like that. So I want to buy it. I think the emergence of Keon Ellis plays a part here as well. And obviously progress from De'Aaron Fox leading the league in steals, which he will tell you were mainly on ball rather than playing passing lanes and being risky necessarily, helps for sure. And Keegan Murray goes into that aspect as well. But it's hard for me to tell, man. Like, how much can we depend on the NBA, in my mind, to continue to allow that level of physicality, because it's very similar to Minnesota from a couple years ago when Chris Finch was first kind of hired there. They're not a very good defensive team, and this is prior to Rudy Gobert getting over there, where they just decided to muck up the game. Essentially, they're going to play physical. They're going to try to force turnovers. Obviously, Sacramento's kind of was doing the same thing in a very good transition team, which obviously means you're going to capitalize on those sort of turnovers. It's hard for me to really believe it, though, because you look around at this roster, and I hate to be that guy. I know that some people think I'm kind of beating up on Sabonis sometimes, and obviously he has a lot of great things that he does, but center is the most important defensive position.
Yeah.
And he's not an elite defender, I guess, to put it lightly. So I think when you have that sort of backline, you need really good perimeter containment, and De'Aaron Fox and Keon Ellis may be able to provide that, along with, if you want to mix Keegan Murray in there as well. I think there's encouraging signs, but it's really hard for me to believe that the post All-Star break of being top 10 is going to carry over into most of next year.
Yeah, Brendan, and how much of that specifically with them being top 10 post All-Star break? It feels like I will admit I'm a little confused on where people are going with it, because I think a lot of people just kind of singularly give a lot of that credit for them being top 10 to Keon Ellis's improved minutes as well. Do you think, I guess not necessarily do you think, but how much do you think the Kings have to rely on Keon to be a good defensive team, or is there some bones there of a team that can be a good defensive team without involved? He takes them to another level.
I think the beauty of Keon Ellis, because we've seen it in different positions, but we've seen it with Mo Harkless, we've seen it with KZ Okpala, like these guys that are really good on the defensive end, but you still have to maintain the idea that your identity is on the offensive end of the floor. Yeah. So you still have to be more than capable on that end. And I think that Keon fits that, which is what makes him such an intriguing development to the Sacramento Kings season. But honestly, I'm really looking at De'Aaron Fox here. I think that this guy has a chance to, with the new developments to how you qualify all defense and them not being position locked, it's going to be absolutely more difficult. But I think that he could have an all defensive caliber season. We've talked about before that this is essentially a contract year for this guy. He's fighting to try and make all NBA money. And I think the addition of DeMar DeRozan should lessen his offensive responsibility. Ideally, obviously, you also got Malik Monk out there, Keegan Murray, you hope to take another step, Domantas Sabonis, who can carry some of the load on the offensive end. But I think that the same way that Mike Brown has said the first time that he coached De'Aaron Fox back at the Adidas Nations camp in high school, when De'Aaron was still in high school, that he saw the two-way potential. And I think you've started to see that even more. So I do think that there is, obviously, if Keon Ellis can continue to develop on the offensive end, if being part of scouting reports doesn't affect how he can affect that end of the floor, that there is a tremendous value there. But really, when you look at the perimeter containment, I think that there's a chance that De'Aaron Fox could be the primary guy there.
Yeah, we'll pick that up on the other side of the break. Can De'Aaron Fox actually make that All-NBA team? I'm looking at this previous season, and it was definitely well documented, but you have four big men at Bam Adebayo, Anthony Davis, Rudy Gobert, and Victor Wembanyama, all making the first team all-defensive team in the NBA, as you mentioned, Brendan. With it now kind of not being position locked, it could be a lot tougher for De'Aaron to slide into that first team slot, or even either slot. I believe he was a second team last year leading the NBA in steals. We'll talk about, can De'Aaron make that all NBA defensive team coming up next. And then we're also going to talk some more about the Kings defense, and does Keegan Murray have to pick up where Harrison Barnes left off? We talk about that next, right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Did you miss any part of our live local shows? Don't worry, you never have to miss them again. Check out sacktownsports.com and search our podcast page and play our shows when you want. The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross, Stiles and Watkins, and the Drive Guys. Plus, other podcasts like Return of the Empire, Return of the Roar, the Stingers Up podcast, and Golf to Go with Frank LaRosa.
They're all available right now on sacktownsports.com.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. JD Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. For JD Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you know that these days, generating growth is a challenge. By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2024 Bank of America NA.
Hi, Michael Dave here for Capital Casino. Sacramento summertime heat is back. And of course, Cap Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room, wants to invite everyone to soak up some air conditioning, still with the most variety of table games in the region. And as always, the best food, best service, and the best action, conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. Capital Casino, of course, reminding everyone to please make sure you gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is the famous footwear that makes us actually want to go back to school. With the newest styles from all your favorite brands like Nike, Adidas, Crocs, Converse, New Balance, Birkenstock, and more. You'll find everything kids want, all at prices parents can appreciate. Because you don't have to overspend to make it famous. Famous Footwear even has fit experts in store to make sure you get the right size every time. So for the perfect fit, make it famous. Plus, right now, buy one, get one half off when you shop your local Famous Footwear or famous.com. Some exclusions apply.
Total Wireless is made to totally keep up with you. We now have unlimited data that never slows you down. Covered by the Verizon 5G network. And for less than $30 a month, we make your phone your ride or die. Switch now and pick a free 5G phone with qualified plan purchase. And your fourth line at no additional cost. Visit your local Total Wireless store today. Total Wireless, we're totally with you. Actual speeds may vary by location. For data management practices, see TotalWireless.com.
Live and local. Live and local.
This is Sacktown Sports.
We are going to give you an update on where things currently, and keyword there is currently, stand with the Brandon Aiyuk saga. It changes every 15 minutes. So honestly, if I were to say something now, it probably wouldn't be accurate by the time we start. When we are actually going to give the update, again, coming in about 15 minutes, just saw on Twitter, Vivek Ranadive posted on his Twitter page that he was watching the Olympic Games out in Paris. Had a photo of him with the backdrop of the track. Also wearing a Kings jacket, so definitely repping while he's out there. He's in front of the, I assume, the track arena as well. And then it looks like he was out in front of Versailles, where they're having I believe, all the equestrian events. So shout out Vivek out there in Paris. It seems like that is as star-studded as it gets out there. And I will say I did misspeak at the end of last segment. I said De'Aaron Fox made All-NBA second team defensively. He did not. Even though he led the NBA in steals. I do remember that being a hot button topic. But Brendan, I think that, if anything, really highlights exactly how difficult what we're talking about is. De'Aaron led the NBA in steals and didn't make an All-NBA defensive team. What is it going to take for a guy like De'Aaron Fox to make one of those teams?
I mean, it feels pretty close to impossible,
right?
To be honest. Like you look at first team. I don't know how to feel about removing positions.
I don't like it. I'll tell you that. I don't like it.
I don't think I do either. Like, it's hard for me, especially when we're talking about all-time things and in the past or in the future when De'Aaron is retired, part of his resume could or could not be all defensive stuff. And you want to compare him to previous guys throughout the NBA when they had different qualifications for these things. So that's where I get hung up of, maybe this should probably change because You look at last year's team of Bam Adebayo, Anthony Davis, Rudy Gobert, Herb Jones, and Victor Wembanyama. You have one guy that's not a center, and maybe some of them are power forwards that are essentially centers, but they're talented enough to play the 4 rather than the 5. Or in Anthony Davis' case, he doesn't want to play the 5, even if they kind of had him in that role for most of last season. So it's, I mean, he's not Alex Caruso. He's not Drew Holiday. He's not Jalen Suggs or Derek White, to be honest. All guys that made second team, and Jaden McDaniels mixed in there as well. But it's a very, very high bar. I think that we're going to have conversations next year about it, but I think for the most part, it's very hard for him to reach that. And again, I don't know how to feel about things of all-time stature and just how this relates to everybody's career when we're looking at them in hindsight to move the goalposts essentially by changing the qualifications. Because I think if we were in the typical case that we had been in years prior before last season, and it was not positionally locked, or sorry, when it was positionally locked, that De'Aaron would have a really good case for some of this stuff. But it's probably going to be tough to make it with the new non-restrictive position locks.
Who do you think has a better chance of making an all defensive team throughout their career? Keon Ellis or De'Aaron Fox?
I mean, I'm going to put De'Aaron Fox. Keon Ellis is still at a point where I'm going to really struggle to believe that he's going to get consideration for these league-wide recognitions, awards, and things like that. He was just off a 2-way. He's done it for 1 year. So until I see it more than that, and like I was the Keon Ellis guy, I feel like the same way that I have a Jemias Ramsey cutout that may or may not
looking
still
at
be
me
in that
right
studio.
now. It is literally staring at me.
Yeah. And Robert Woodard was also my guy. Keon Ellis was the one after the fact, and he actually panned out. So we've seen it for 1 year. I have questions about him also on the offensive end and him being part of scouting reports. And if you can't survive offensively, you can't show what you can do on the defensive end of the floor enough to really gratify the idea of you getting on these all defensive teams. So it's hard for me to not pick the guy that's already been an all-star and led the league in steals last year.
Very fair. Yeah, I just feel like that's probably the Kings' second best option, maybe of getting an all defensive team, just with the amount of deflections he gets. And you know, it did feel like he definitely caught some momentum at the end of last year, not just as a player, but in terms of his marketing. Definitely felt like, you know, with the TNT games, with the, let's not forget the play-in game that he had, the play-in game that he had against the Warriors was absolutely fantastic, and definitely put him in front of a lot of eyes that I think a lot of people hadn't seen him before. So I definitely just think in general, there's a lot more people paying attention to Keon Ellis's defense moving forward. And it just kind of feels like to me, he's probably the second best option. Maybe Keegan Murray, who I'll ask you about now. You made note in the pre-show of, during last season, and it's been the case before last season as well, not to Harrison Barnes's fault, but he's been the guy who, when the Kings play the Milwaukee Bucks of the world and have to guard Giannis, the Clippers, and had to guard Paul George and Kawhi, the Lakers, of course, in the division as well, having to guard LeBron James, and the list goes on and on and on. The guy who's been guarding those caliber of players for the past, 4 or 5 years for the Sacramento Kings has been Harrison Barnes, who's no longer in the building. They, of course, bring in DeMar DeRozan, who has spent a good bit of his career surprisingly playing the 4 position, has played some 3 as well. Brandon, now in a post-Harrison Barnes world for the Kings, is it Keegan Murray that you put on those guys? I have a lot of questions about him physically on those guys, more so just him getting bodied. I think speed-wise, he's definitely shown he can keep up with faster guys, but I think it's more the physicality that he's going to struggle with. Or do you go with a guy like DeMar, who kind of has the inverse problem, where I don't really have as many physicality concerns about DeMar, but obviously, happy birthday, age 35. You kind of lose a half a step. Which guy do you think you would personally prefer guarding the LeBrons, the Giannis's, the KDs of the world, and which direction do you think the Kings go?
Yeah, I think there's been some aspect of DeMar looking a little bit better on the bigger players and Keegan being vice versa, where he really, our guy Hunter Patterson has written an article, a great article for The Athletic about how Keegan really got his confidence on the defensive end by getting some stops on Steph Curry, not last year, but the year prior in his rookie season, and realized the caliber of player that he could be on that end. But more often than not, he's getting put on Devin Booker, on Anthony Edwards, you know, on these different guards around the league, and has decent foot speed. Obviously, like I think that he's a fairly underrated player around the league on the defensive end. I'm just not sure that, like you're saying, it's the Kawhi Leonards, it's the LeBron Jameses that you really want to put him on. So I might lean towards DeMar DeRozan, but I think for the most part that when you talk about, again, the Devin Bookers, the Anthony Edwards, Steph Curry, like I said in the last segment, I think that De'Aaron Fox is going to take another step on the defensive end of the floor. That wouldn't surprise me. You have Keon Ellis there as well. So ideally, the same way that you were throwing Keegan out there on these guards as somewhat of a learning experience in my mind, and you saw him get the growth and development by getting those reps, you might need to do that on bigs as well. Or more forward wing size players, just bigger guys in general. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was DeMar at first, but I certainly would give Keegan a decent amount of reps there as well.
That kind of got me thinking, Brendan, like what do you think in terms of like how important is it that Keegan becomes an actual elite defender? Like not just a very passable one or one that, you know, you can survive with or anything like that. Like it seems like the Kings have kind of prioritized, at least, you know, in the past 2 seasons, or more so specifically going into a sophomore season. We'll obviously still have to see what they prioritize going into this season, but definitely feels like the Kings last year made it a priority to say, yeah, we need Keegan not to just be a member of the defensive unit. We kind of need him to be one of the 2 or at least 3 biggest pieces of our defense. Do you think that's 100% necessary for his development, or is it just kind of more of a team specific need, if that kind of makes sense?
Yeah, I think that they go hand in hand. And that's kind of the issue here. The way that we compare De'Aaron Fox and John Morant, like team specific conversations and player specific conversations when it comes to development go hand in hand, because whatever you're asked to do is either what you're going to get better at or what you're going to get exposed as you're not good at. So I never would have expected going into last year that Keegan would be the guy that you're putting on Steph Curry.
Right.
Now, obviously, like in the postseason series, we may have come to realize that by the end of the year, but it's something that I think that you should try. And as you get DeMar on this team and you start looking at some of these lineups, it's like, okay, closing lineup, like we know Malik's not starting, but he should be part of that closing group.
Yeah, for
You're
sure.
talking De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, Domantas Sabonis. You have 2 good defenders on that lineup. De'Aaron Fox, I know that he had moments of saying, oh, I got Brandon Ingram a couple years ago. Well, obviously not talking last year. When he was on, 0-5, 0-6 against the Pelicans. Obviously not the greatest showing there. I know De'Aaron's had his moments of playing bigger guys. And
Mad Fox, right?
Right. You know, and at which Mad De'Aaron is a whole different level. But you have to rely on Keegan Murray. Honestly, you don't really have another option right now, which speaks to the roster imbalance that I heard you talking about yesterday, that we've talked about plenty of times before. But you need Keegan Murray even more so on the defensive end than you did before, in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about all that a little bit later in the show when we talk about Domantas Sabonis and how crucial his defense is and why there might be an element of his offensive game that makes us believe he actually can be a really good defender. We'll talk about that more so in the 11 o'clock hour. But coming up next, the wheels keep on turning on the Brandon Aiyuk saga. We fill you in with everything that's gone down since the last time we were on air yesterday, and you'd be surprised at how much can change in 24 hours. We give you the update on Brandon Aiyuk coming up next right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
The NFL's leading rusher plays here.
And a handoff to McCaffrey, walks in the end zone. Handoff to McCaffrey, takes it right down to the goal line. He does his thing again. McCaffrey goes in motion right. Backwards pass led by Juszczyk. A block there. Hurdles a man. 10-5. Touchdown! CMC!
You can hear all of Christian McCaffrey's touchdowns on your home for 49ers football. Sacktown Sports.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go. I didn't think I'd survive. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there.
Covenant House helped me break the cycle of homelessness in my family. They gave me the love that I needed.
Over 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed tonight. When youth who are experiencing homelessness have a hot meal, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love, they can overcome heartbreaking challenges and have a brighter future.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding. I'm a speaker, I'm an author. Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
If you or someone you love is asking for help, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
I'm a very active person that likes to move around and go. The pain I was in was really excruciating. It was actually debilitating. I was basically heading towards a sedentary lifestyle. I had really tried everything, but I quickly lost hope with all of the things that we had tried, and that's what led me to the Good Feet store. And when I found the Good Feet system, it really just changed everything. It brought me back to life. I have my active lifestyle back.
The Good Feet store in Sacramento, Roseville, and Vacaville.
Are you tired of your tee shots ending up in the adjoining fairway while the rest of your foursome is hitting it down the middle? Well, experts will tell you that being properly fitted for golf clubs will help you strike your drive center cut. The Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio and its team of trained PGA professionals are ready to help you get rid of your banana balls and duck hooks. Hagen Oaks Indoor-Outdoor Player Performance Studio fittings are available 7 days a week. Make yours today by calling 916-808-2531. That's 808-2531.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds, which could be life-changing. I mean, you could put that money towards concert tickets for your daughter to see that singer who sings about painful breakups. And one song will inspire your little beauty to break up with that beast she's dating, Brian. Instead, she'll date someone who's nice and worthy of her love, not someone who addresses you and your spouse as bro. And it's all because you could save money switching at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
Sacramento Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. They believe it's all about people and choices. Their goal is to find the car that fits your lifestyle. With their huge inventory of models, they've got the right car and, more importantly, at the right price every time. Experience for yourself why their customers drive away smiling. Discover the difference, because it's not just about the car, it's also about the people. Experience the Sacramento Dodge, Jeep, and Chrysler difference off Business 80 next to Hagen Oaks, or you can find them online, sacsuperstore.com.
I'm Ken Korak with your Green and Gold Report, brought to you by Xfinity Mobile. Connect to the most reliable 5G network nationwide. Well, with the A's starting rotation in flux for much of the year, left-hander J.P. Sears has been a constant. In fact, he hasn't missed a start going back to the beginning of last year. And when he beat the White Sox to begin the A's most recent homestand, that meant the A's had won 6 of his previous 7 starts. And during those 6 wins, his ERA was 1.73.
Want to save on some of the biggest names in streaming on the network made for streaming? Now through September 21st, get 150 megabit Xfinity internet for 12 months with a 1-year contract. And for just $15 a month, add the new Stream Saver. That includes Peacock, Apple TV Plus, and Netflix for just $35 a month. Switch at Xfinity.com today. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular internet rate supply. Currently $54 a month. Actual speeds vary. Stream Saver requires Xfinity internet or TV and price subject to change.
Why do you hear
reminding you that not all gas grills are created equal. Bring out all the delicious flavors in your grilled meats with the amazing Napoleon Prestige and Prestige Pro line of outdoor cookers. My Napoleon Stainless Steel Pro Series gas grill has turned me into a grilling pro with features other grills cannot match. They're built different, built better, built to last. Made with premium stainless steel that boasts quality and a lifetime warranty. I may never want to cook indoors again. Napoleon grills and accessories are now available at your nearby Amy's, Ace Hardware in Sacramento, and now El Dorado.
Sacktown Sports. Check us out on YouTube. Search Sacktown Sports and subscribe.
Stiles and Watkins, again, for those joining us for the first time this week, thanks for joining. Typically hear Alan Stiles and myself at this time of day. But yeah, we got everybody on vacay, and we are right in the middle of the week. It definitely took me, I don't know, 3 or 4 times of telling myself that it's Wednesday for me to know that it was Wednesday. I have big Thursday vibes today, so that's going to hurt.
It's kind of news to me.
Hurt a lot on
Wednesday, to be honest.
I feel like that's typical for you, Brendan. I feel like you usually don't know what day of the week it is. I feel like you always are getting lost in the shuffle of things.
Yeah, you're not really wrong. Typically, especially during season, it does not really make a difference to me.
No.
So yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, no, and probably coming up around noon, Brendan. I don't think we have the lunch conversation with you. I've been having a lunch conversation with just about everybody. It feels like, when do you typically have your lunches? Do you skip them? I can't remember if we had that talk or not, but that's coming up at some point here, probably more towards noon and the noon hour. But it's time to get everybody caught up with everybody's favorite dramatic receiver these days, who allegedly Kyle Shanahan also is getting sick and tired of Brandon Aiyuk's antics, I guess you can call it. And that's pretty unsurprising. If you know anything about Kyle Shanahan, you would probably guess that he's not one for making a show of things and likes people to handle their business quietly and behind closed doors. And that has just been the complete opposite of how Brandon Aiyuk has handled this entire offseason. And I think that's also intentional. I think he's been trying to get under the skin of the 49ers to try and promote them to pay him what he feels like he deserves to get paid. But unfortunately, it just doesn't seem like we are trending in that direction. Maybe Brandon Aiyuk does play this season for the San Francisco 49ers, but it does not seem as if a new payday will be coming with that, if that does happen, at least not immediately, as all indications are that the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk have not spoken about a contract in about a month or so. It has been a while since the Niners and Aiyuk have actually talked contract terms. Mainly, most of their conversations have been surrounded by what Brandon Aiyuk wants and who are some teams in which he would be potentially willing to play for. And I think the funny thing has just been watching team by team cross themselves out. And the Patriots are a team that crossed themselves out yesterday. The initial reports were that the Patriots and the Browns were the two teams that were closest to getting an Aiyuk deal done. Of course, the Steelers have always had a level of interest, but until recently, not much has moved on that front. We'll get to that in a second. But again, yes, the Patriots are officially out on Brandon Aiyuk after being willing to pay Aiyuk whatever he wants. This was from Adam Schefter. He said, New England has been attempting to acquire Aiyuk for months, and it has been a slow process from its side, according to sources. New England was willing to make Aiyuk one of the top 5 highest paid receivers in the NFL in terms of average salary per year, a source has told ESPN and Adam Schefter. And I mean, Nate, Brendan, to me, that reads out quite clearly. I don't know if it's really about the money for Brandon Aiyuk. It has to be a little bit about situation here. And I'll ask Nate first here. Nate, are you getting that same read that, yes, Brandon Aiyuk wants to leave, he wants to find a better situation, but he doesn't want to just take any situation, clearly, because we've heard this is about money. He wants the respect of being a top 5 receiver. New England says they're willing to pay him top 5 receiver money, but he doesn't want to go there.
Well, he wants it all, and who
Sure does.
doesn't, you know?
Yeah.
Like he wants to win, and he wants to get paid. And there's really not a lot
And he wants
of
the ball.
And he wants the ball. There's really not a lot of options for that trifecta here in the NFL for anyone at any time almost. Like
Period.
it's very, very rare. So he's got to pick and choose, right? We've talked about this with Allen. It's like, which one do you want? Which one is the most important to you? And it seems to be not winning. It seems I honestly, I can't answer that question, because if New England wanted him to pay, or they were going to pay him anything over 30 mil, he was going to be one of the most highest paid receivers, like top 2 probably.
And you would also assume that comes with him getting the ball as well.
Yeah.
The only receiver out of England at that point.
Yeah, if anyone can throw it to him. I mean,
Fair point.
It's Drake May, correct?
It's Drake May and
Jacoby Brissett.
A little questionable, seems like.
Yeah. At the very least, having those guys throwing you the ball, new coach too, and the weather. Like half the home games, at least half the home games are going to be in the snow, right? Or freezing. Yeah. So that is not good for receivers. Receivers don't like that. I mean, just look at what Randy Moss did in New England. He was not himself. I'd say it wasn't his best form. But it's just. Yeah, Ayuk's got to make up his mind. It's really on him at this point. I think the Niners are ready to let him go. I think the bro hug was nothing a couple days ago. I think what McCaffrey said was genuinely on accident. If you haven't heard it,
we'll play it in a second.
Yeah. So just make up your mind, Ayuk. Either go get paid or stay. Like it's just now I'm getting really irritated. I want it to be over so bad.
Brendan, what have your thoughts been on this Brandon Aiyuk situation, more specifically him apparently not wanting to play in New England if New England's willing to pay him more than anybody else is?
Yeah, I mean, I think Nate's point of kind of make up your mind is essentially where I'm at too. What is your top priority? Because it's fine to want everything. Everybody wants everything. But at some point, you got to pick what you're really prioritizing here. And I don't know how many Super Bowl contending teams he's going to go out there and be the number 1 option on. Like, sure, Kansas City has some holes at wide receiver. They obviously don't have the assets to go out there and do that. They're not part of these conversations. And they also have Patrick Mahomes, which, as much as I cannot stand that man, and he's broken my heart way too many times, it's just he is another caliber of player that really is what elevates that team. It's hard for me to understand I want to get paid. And it's like, well, I don't really want to get paid here, So, and I will, the other thing I'll add is that I look at this a little bit from a reporter perspective, because I guess I am more of that now than I was years ago. Yeah. It's a process, I guess, but it's always interesting to me to see what part of these things are coming from the Niners. What part of these are coming from Ayuk's camp? Because clearly, in my mind, the reports, which, by the way, the Niners seem to be very quiet about how they go about their process. And then all of a sudden we're getting leaks that, oh, yeah, they've agreed to a deal essentially if Aiyuk were to accept with the Patriots, with the Browns. So are they just trying to be like, hey, if you want to go there, go figure it out, because we got you right here. And then all of a sudden there's reportings of, I don't want to go here and here. It seems like all the Steelers stuff, from my perspective, reading between the lines and not speaking this as facts at all, is that the Steelers stuff, the Commander stuff, all seems like from Ayuk's side.
Mm-hmm.
While the Patriots and Brown stuff all seems from the Niners side, which again are very tight-lipped and are probably putting that out for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Go ahead, Nate.
They're very specific about what they want getting out. I mean, we've gotten into conversations here about like how they promote certain members of the media, and you get happy with what certain ones say, and that's like, all kind of under the rug stuff behind the scenes. Like, we don't really know what's going on, and it might even be fake, but The thing that's really like irking me about the entire situation is in these talks, the latest one with the Steelers, right?
Yep.
That's reported this morning by Filipponi, I believe is his name, in Pittsburgh. He's kind of he might be their Carmichael Dave, honestly. But
I don't know if that's a compliment.
yeah, sorry.
I just don't know.
The offer apparently doesn't have any players involved. It's all picks, right? And I don't even think a first round pick's involved. It might be like some like down the line role player guys, but my issue, we had this conversation with Ben yesterday, is like, let's get someone to replace him, or let's beef the O-line, or let's get another defensive lineman.
Strengthen something.
Yeah,
else
let's do something. Let's do something else. I don't want future picks, especially first round picks with Shanahan. It's like, it hasn't been great. Like, he can make all his picks in the 3rd through the 5th. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So let's go get a player like Kenny Pickett. If we did make a deal with the Steelers, would they send Kenny Pickett? Probably not, right?
I wouldn't want Kenny Pickett.
You wouldn't?
I would not.
Oh, George Pickens. Excuse me. It's not Kenny Pickett.
I was like,
George Pickens.
Yeah.
Like him, and then the Niners would probably have to send a second or a third or something.
Or how about like Cameron Hayward?
Yes, exactly.
I know his deal's coming up.
Minka Fitzpatrick. Yeah, get him. We need a safety over here. I know he's a little older. He was rumored to come to the Niners a while ago. Steelers ended up grabbing him. But that's what I want to see is a player. I don't want to see picks out of this. I don't want to see a first round pick, because most likely this first round pick, I mean, if they did make the deal with the Patriots, it's probably going to be a pretty good pick. But like the Steelers, probably going to be like 15, 16 in the middle of that first round. They'll
be 8 and 9, 9 and 8. I'll guarantee you that.
It's not great. So I would like to see some players in these deals, it doesn't seem to be the case.
Definitely, and I think that's a really good observation by you, Brendan. I hadn't even thought of it in that respect, but that's why you're on the show, man, is to give that great perspective. I think it's fantastic because we've seen the direct return from those Patriots and Browns reports. We have heard Amari Cooper and a 2nd round pick specifically from the Browns. We have heard Kendrick Bourne, a former 49er, and 2 picks from the Patriots as the deal. We haven't heard anything in return from the Commanders and from the Steelers side of things. So
also way different calibers. Like
completely.
I'm
Amari
Cooper. Do not
Bourne.
talk to me about Kendrick Bourne.
It's
what
insane.
In the world are we talking about
It's
here? I
absolutely
know that it's mainly draft capital. Kendrick Bourne is not doing it for me.
No, you might as well do what Nate was suggesting, and you might as well beef up something else at that point, because I think Juwan Jennings is a better receiver than Kendrick Bourne. I would rather at least see what you have in Ricky Pearsall than do it again with Kendrick Bourne. I get the comfort. I get that you feel like you lose Aiyuk and you can't just straight lose him. You should try and replace a little bit of his production. But, I think we saw with the Niners last year, there is a possibility that they just say, look, we would much rather beef up where we are already beefed and lean into that. I mean, we saw how much assets they put into the defensive line last year. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe the Niners, if they don't like you're saying, Brendan, a Kendrick Bourne, or if Aiyuk is just adamant, no, I want to go to the Steelers. I want to go play with my best friend, Jaden Daniels, out there in Washington. Maybe it's not a Terry McLaurin. Maybe it's not a George Pickens. Maybe it is a Minka Fitzpatrick. Maybe it is, I can't name a single player on the defensive side of the Washington Commanders. So definitely some interesting stuff there. And again, not really any firm Aiyuk updates as of yet. But again, these things are very, very fluid. And I think Nate even told me this morning that, that Mike Tomlin had some interesting comments about saying, oh, it's still morning on the West Coast, so nothing to report as of yet. So definitely going to keep going on that. We will at some point, probably I'm going to try and get it in the next segment, play that Christian McCaffrey slip up, because it is an all-time classic, especially if Aiyuk does get moved. So we're going to talk about, we're going to play that audio next, and might get into a little bit of Domantas Sabonis on defense conversation, and wonder if the conversation that's been around Domantas Sabonis' defense has been a fair one. You're listening to Stiles and Watkins right here, Sacktown Sports.
On the move? Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sacktown Sports app will let you stay connected to your passion. Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with the Sacktown Sports app.
Labor Day savings now at Maida Chevy with $12,000 off MSRP on every new Silverado half-ton Turbo Max in stock after rebates.
$12,000 off every Silverado LT Turbo Max at Maida Chevy with at least 5 at this price.
Labor Day savings up to $12,000 off MSRP exclusively at Maida Chevy at MaidaChevy.com. Sacramento Silverado headquarters. Together, let's drive.
Not available with special financing, lease, and some other offers. Must trade in 2010 model year or newer. Ends 9/3/24.
Made a great deal at Maida.
Hello, Sacramento. I'm Emran Plati, owner of True Sports Cards and Collectible Store here in Rockland, California, and the host of the True Sports Cards Show that airs right here on Sacktown Sports 1140 every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m., where we discuss the latest trends, hottest products, and deliver exclusive interviews with other industry leaders. And don't forget to visit our shop, True Sports Cards, at 6661 Stanford Ranch Road in Rockland and see what we have for all your sports card and memorabilia needs.
Sacramento, Dirks Bentley's coming to town. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo for Country in the Park 2. And he's bringing some friends. Parmalee, Tyler Rich, Dasha, Kelsey Hart, and more. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo. Get your tickets today before they're sold out at CITPFest.com.
Brought to you by RVs of Sacramento and Hoblet Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram Center.
Michael Dave here for Capital Casino. Sacramento summertime heat is back. And of course, Cap Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room, wants to invite everyone to soak up some air conditioning, still with the most variety of table games in the region. And as always, the best food, best service, and the best action, conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. Capital Casino, of course, reminding everyone to please make sure you gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's been said an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And when it comes to a nice, cool summer, it's so true. Right now, get a complete air conditioner tune-up for just $59. Bonnie. Plumbing, sewer, electrical, heating, and air. Bonnie.com. Some restrictions apply. License 696-355.
KHTKAM Sacramento. KYMX HD2 Sacramento. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios, your flagship station for the Beam Team.
Should we light the beam? Light the beam, baby.
Sit Down Sports. Sacktown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
Stiles and Watkins. I'm going to say it at the top of every hour. Alan Stiles held down the morning slot. I will be holding down the middays.
Alan brings stinky lunches.
That's also kind of a fact, by the way. We should probably – it's Wednesday. It's like the middle of the week. Maybe at like 12:45, 1-ish, we can talk about Alan's stinky lunches because that's probably the least likely time in which he'll be listening. So maybe we can reveal some Alan secrets while he's not here. And I probably shouldn't have said that because he might be listening in the car. Thank you, Nate. Appreciate that. We will get to Christian McCaffrey's hilarious slip up in about a second. But Nate did mention the bro hug heard around the world last week. Or was that earlier this week? Time is just frozen this week, it seems like. But this is from I'm sorry, who is it from? This is from Michael Silver of the San Francisco Chronicle, wrote about the infamous bro hug and why Shanahan might have not been a two-sided bro hug. This is reporting from who is this? This is NBC Sports Bay Area writing about the Mike Silver comments. Shanahan is willing to move on from Aiyuk because he is, quote, bothered by the 26-year-old's behavior, including his recent bro hug with the coach and his perceived brooding. The San Francisco Chronicle's Michael Silver reported Tuesday, citing multiple sources, quote, the continued presence of Aiyuk in all his emotionally charged splendor seems to be triggering, Silver wrote. That's just usually how we greet each other, honestly, Shanahan told reporters Friday after practice. You guys would see maybe a lot more hugs in here if we had film for you guys. But we're not on Hard Knocks. We saw him on the field. He hadn't been on the field. We walked by each other, and usually that's how we greet each other. Bro hug, nothing more, nothing less. Thank you. So that is Kyle Shanahan's comments on the bro hug. Unsurprising that Kyle probably just doesn't want to talk about that at all. And speaking of not wanting to talk, Christian McCaffrey maybe wants to walk this one back. This is him yesterday with the NFL Network. This is the definition of just a Freudian slip, I believe is how it's pronounced. This is Christian McCaffrey talking about his teammate, his current teammate, Brandon Aiyuk.
That that's not part of my job. It's not part of my position. I think obviously as a former teammate or teammate of his in general, any teammate that you have, you love, you respect them. That's not part of my position. I think obviously as a former teammate or as a former teammate or
I love how he says former teammate. Any teammate is fine. Current, former, past, present teammates. That is quite a slip up there from Christian McCaffrey. And that if Brandon Aiyuk when Brandon Aiyuk is no longer a 49er, that is probably going to be played quite a bit. Brendan, did you hear that yesterday? And if not, what are your thoughts hearing that level of slip from CMC?
Yeah, it's definitely hilarious. And if you're sitting in that room, that's going to stand out. Every once in a while, as somebody that's in some conversations like this, specifically on the Kings side, every once in a while, you need to listen back to something and be like, this might have some deeper meaning.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of those. But how I essentially take it is that the Niners might be functioning as if they don't have him. And if they don't, that could change slightly McCaffrey's role a little bit. Now, obviously, it's tough to have even more reliance on that guy than they did in the years prior when they already maybe not as much as they should have been leaning on Elijah Mitchell a little bit as well in some of those scenarios. But maybe it means they need McCaffrey a little bit more in the passing game.
Yeah.
And honestly, the question I would have to Nate here, if he doesn't mind, is
ready.
How much more do you think that they could still lean on George Kittle? It felt like last year he really was not getting a lot of touches in this. And a lot of my perspective on if Aiyuk were to not be around the way that McCaffrey accidentally was talking about, as if that was the case, was, well, you could get Kittle more touches than you did, just like you had previously, but did not last year.
Well, I believe George Kittle did lead the league in receiving yards for a tight end.
Yes.
And that's not to be like a counterpoint against you, Brendan. I just think he slips under the radar, which is so silly to say because he's such like a big face and big voice. We all know, some people think it's annoying. Yeah, and that's fair.
Some people, maybe
I think
one host. Yeah.
they can lean on him more for sure. I literally think who they'll lean on more is Juwan Jennings because I think his touches go up the most out of anyone on the offense, like in comparison to the last two seasons. I think Juwan Jennings gets more touches. I think he's earned it too. I know it's only one game, but especially after the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl MVP, Juwan Jennings.
Dude,
please.
Juwan Jennings, and he's bad analysis. He's a dog. Like he's their third down guy. Yeah, he's great. I think he's earned it. I think the touches pretty much stay the same for everybody. George Kittle had the 3 touchdown game against Dallas and stuff. Like those games will happen. George does most of his work in the trenches, so and he's getting older. I think most of the touches go to Juwan Jennings, and we still don't know about Slick Rick. Ricky Pearsall, he's got to get touches too, right? We assume. I know it's his rookie year, and Shanahan doesn't love rookies, but that's where I'm expecting the ball to go to more.
I want to definitely highlight Brendan's point there as well of saying if Aiyuk does leave, though, I think there is an open window for Christian McCaffrey to get more touches in the passing game. Looking just at his targets throughout his career, rookie season 113, second year 124. These are targets. 142 in his third season. Those are 3 16-game seasons. Then, of course, we know McCaffrey starts to get hurt. 19 targets, 41 targets, 108 targets in that first season combined with San Francisco and Carolina. Last season with the Niners, 83 targets, a career low when playing at least 16 games for McCaffrey. So that definitely is something that they just didn't really fully explore last year. And it is a little bit strange to me. It's almost like having LeBron James and then saying, we just kind of want LeBron to be a scorer. We don't really care about his passing ability or his vision or anything like that. It kind of felt like to me that as much as they use Christian McCaffrey in the passing game or in the running game, I am right there with you, Brendan. I definitely think they could have used him a ton more in the passing game. And I think he's just as effective as a receiver as he is as a running back. And that's no slight to him as a runner at all.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, you had told me beforehand, before he was even traded to the Niners, how this might be the coldest white boy in
all time.
The NFL, And as somebody fairly pale on my own end, I got a little Portuguese and like to think I tan a little bit, but I took a little bit of pride in that, the passing game. Look, comes there as well.
Chris is a Vikings fan too. Adam Thielen, dude, you're really going to throw over Adam Thielen.
Other Stanford legend. Look, I'm just saying, like Peyton Hillis was on the Madden cover back in the day because
5 minutes of fame.
Because he was the first white running back to ever rush for 1,000 yards in like 15 years or something like that when he did it. I always say this about Christian McCaffrey, and I hope this doesn't get me fired, but Christian McCaffrey is so cold that nobody brings up the fact that he's a white running back. It's just a fact. Like it was such a huge part of the Peyton Hillis story. Not a single human mentions it with Christian McCaffrey because he's on another level. The dude is absolutely insane. And I'm really glad he had that, passing touchdown, receiving touchdown, rushing touchdown game, because to me, that really just, again, let the world know this dude is just different. He is not like an Adrian Peterson. He is not like your typical running backs. This guy can do everything. I even think he's at a different level than Alvin Kamara ever was. So yeah, I mean, I as you know, Brendan, like you said, I was not in a rush to give the Niners a ton of credit at any point in my life, but when they got Christian McCaffrey, I just had no other option but to give it up to him and say, look, man, this as much as I would love to hate on something that the Niners do, especially an all-in move, the dude is crazy talented. So yeah, definitely don't have many bad words to say about Christian McCaffrey. And also for anybody who's a college football fan, if you saw Christian McCaffrey when he was a punt returner as well, he can do it all, man. I'm telling you, like, I know Debo does his Debo thing, but CMC, there's not a thing on the football field that I would not trust Christian McCaffrey to do. And again, for those who are just now joining us, Christian McCaffrey, we played earlier some audio of him having a little bit of a slip up and mentioning Brandon Aiyuk as a former teammate. And the latest report from the Steelers side of things is the Steelers talks with the 49ers have been stalled out as of Monday night, but the teams re-engaged in trade discussions Tuesday in an ever fluid situation that still involves other teams as well. Sources have told Adam Schefter. So yet again, there is not much movement when it comes to the Brandon Aiyuk front. And I think everybody is just waiting by their phones. I have Twitter for notifications for Adam Schefter on. I don't have them for Rappaport or for Pelissero or anything like that. So I'm definitely anticipating something happening. But anytime my phone goes off, I will have to do the obligatory check because you just never know. You never know when things are going to break in today's sports cycle. Coming up next, we promised it. I'm sorry. We're going to get to it now. Domantas Sabonis and his defense. Is the conversation around his defense fair? And is there something about his offensive game that makes Brendan feel good about his defensive potential? We get into that next right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
The only place you'll find Kevin Herter is Sacktown Sports.
Herter's open, steps into three. He's got the triple.
Hey, Sacramento, it's Kevin Herter, and you're listening to the home of the Sacramento Kings, Sacktown Sports.
Your local sports leader.
I would end the day with sore feet, sore legs. The drugstore inserts that I was purchasing were really not very useful at all. I walked into the Good Feet store and the guy kind of grinned at me and said, I hear that a lot. I was living with chronic pain before going to the Good Feet store. Now I don't really have that problem. I'm able to do the things that I expect to be able to do, even at my advanced age. I feel pretty good about what's going on.
The Good Feet Store in Sacramento, Roseville, and Vacaville.
Hi, this is Frank LaRosa.
And this is Scott Marsh.
Join us weekly for Golf to Go right here on Sacktown Sports. We talk to all the local golf experts in the area and give you the latest on all the courses as well.
And not to mention all the golf legends and celebrities, along with all the latest in equipment and tournaments too.
Most importantly, we'll just have some fun talking about a game that's fun to play.
You know it's my favorite hour of the week, Frank.
Golf to Go, Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on Sacktown Sports. Give us a listen. I think you'll enjoy it.
Live and local. Live and local.
This is Sacktown Sports.
Not much in sports is fair. As a matter of fact, it's kind of a word that in athletics they like to stay away from because, you know, it's about athletes and crazy things happening and balls bouncing in ways that you can't predict. And so, you know, life isn't fair. Why should sports be fair? But Brendan, would you say that the conversation that has happened around Domantas Sabonis's defense has been fair? I mean, he definitely catches a lot of criticism just in general. I mean, you know, I think everybody, even on the offensive end, it shows that you could describe one's vertical ability as having credit card hops, you could say. And I think, you know, obviously you said earlier, the center is the most important position on the defensive end. And obviously that's the position that Sabonis plays for the Sacramento Kings team. A lot of people propose that he should play the 4, I think, for that very reason, that we do need a center, a true center to put next to Domantas Sabonis. Do you think that just in general, again, the conversation around Domantas Sabonis is fair to him, or do you think that he is a bit of a victim of his circumstances with how the Kings roster is constructed?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I do feel a little guilty / responsible for some of the Domas defense conversations. I feel like I may or may not be one of the most critical guys on that end of the floor. And it's not to say that he's a horrible defender or anything like that. And I want to preface this with a lot of my concerns come from the aspect of postseason success, when a team really gets time to scheme against you. Yeah. And I understand why. I really don't honestly know the best way to say this, but like, it's a little hard to express that to Kings fans sometimes. The idea that like this can be fine in the regular season, but it's tough in the postseason, in my mind, or at least it could lead to issues. But I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday about the idea of, in draft projections, essentially, or primarily really, that passing from a big man can be a little bit of a signifier for clearly they understand the game and understand where you want to go next and how that should translate to the defensive end of the floor. And I think you've seen that the most prevalent example, obviously, being Jokic, maybe the smartest player in the league, right up there with LeBron James. Honestly, Tyrese Halliburton, I think, is that in that conversation. But
let's calm down.
You know, we might get on Tyrese sometimes, but I think that he's up there a little bit. But I think that Jokic is the most primary example of a guy that, like, you are so smart. How does that not translate to both ends of the floor? Yeah. And eventually it did. Even the little leg kick of blocking pocket passes, and it's always a side out of bounds. You got to blow the whistle, start the play over. That's Jokic understanding that's the pass people are trying to make. And I think that Sabonis has got a little bit better in that over time as well. He's not doing the same leg kick, but he's getting his hands down a little bit lower. I think some of the perimeter defenders are helping with that as well. But I think the idea that he's such a smart offensive player that should be able to translate to the defensive end, there's something there. And we've seen slow progress. If you want to look at the first year that Domas was in Sacramento and obviously spent a little bit of time in Indiana that year as well, this is the defensive allowed rim percentage when Domas is essentially the rim protector, the one around the basket, right? 21-22. Again, half the year in Indiana for what it's worth. 60% for opponents around the rim. That is the 14th percentile in the NBA, according to Synergy. And for what it's worth, lower percentiles, for anybody unaware, are worse than higher percentiles when we're talking about this here.
Right. You want to be in the 99th percentile.
Exactly. 99th percentile is more of De'Aaron finishing around the rim for what it's worth, positionally at least. So again, 60% during his first year in Sacramento, which also goes over to Indiana as well, 14th percentile. His next year, full season in Sacramento, 56% allowed around the rim, 35th percentile in the NBA. Progress, right? And definitely. I know 4% doesn't sound like much, but think about 36% from three compared to 40% from three. Big difference here.
Yeah.
So then you go to last year, 54.6% around the rim, 41st percentile. I did think that there was progress in that aspect of Domas protecting the rim, understanding ideal timings. I do also think part of this is the willingness of physicality, like we mentioned earlier in the show, but sometimes that can get a little complicated with Sabonis when there might be one or two, sometimes three, depending on the game, offensive fouls on the other end that could make him a little bit more hesitant to apply that level of physicality specifically around the rim on the defensive end. But I do think that there has been progress, and I think it's an interesting idea to me that if you're a good playmaker, you understand the game really well, that should probably translate to the defensive end as well. Like I said, was having a conversation with somebody about this yesterday, but honestly, I can't think of that many examples of it outside of Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit tough. I don't know if anybody ever, LeBron obviously has like generational vision. I don't know if anybody would say LeBron is a generational defender or showed any signs of that being helpful for his defensive game, specifically the insight of knowing where people are thinking. On a much lesser level, I mean, Keon Ellis did say a version of this that when asked why what makes him such a good defender, he essentially said, I think about what I would do on offense and I try and anticipate that as a defender and just assume what others would do, because Keon at one point was an offensively minded player, wasn't so defensively minded. Brendan, I'm curious, and this is definitely semantics, but it is something I do think is a little bit important to what you are trying to highlight. And again, this is probably nitpicking, and we don't have to go into an argument about it, but I do kind of feel a little bit passionately about it. Do you think that there is a difference between passing ability and having vision overall? Because I would say Domantas Sabonis does have good passing ability. I just don't know if I would necessarily say he sees the floor significantly better than others in which I have seen. I would say that it to me seems more of a product of he is a smart basketball player, no doubt, and you trust him to make good decisions with the basketball. But I don't necessarily know if I've ever said, wow, Sabonis just perfectly timed that back cut to where only his offensive player could get it. Am I being too critical, or is there something there? And just in general, do you agree with that?
Yeah, honestly, I think you might be being a bit too critical. I think that more often than not, like the back cuts are happening because they know they will get rewarded.
Sure.
And sometimes people just jog through actions. This is the thing that Steph Curry is great at, doing everything with intention and thinking that I could get the ball at any moment. It's another thing Kevin Huerter, I also think, is very good at, running through
for sure
his sets because he could get rewarded at any given point. And he talks about the ball being power, which I don't think it's a coincidence that that's something he's talking about after coming from Atlanta, where they run something very similar to Luka Doncic and other guys around the league of a very dominant offense by one person, I guess we would say. But no, I mean, I think that they are kind of one and the same, but how I would separate them is there's a difference between recognizing it and being able to capitalize it. And I would put vision with the former and the passing itself with more of the latter. Of Domas not only sees it, but he also recognizes it quick enough that he's able to react. Because if you try to pass it when they're open, you're too late in the NBA.
Yeah.
You have to pass it as they are about to be open. You know, the Kings, one of their offensive staples is making decisions in 0.5 seconds.
Yeah.
And we've said that plenty of times, but I think it's sometimes difficult to understand how quick that really is. And that's the difficulty there. So I think, honestly, that Domas is pretty good at both. And that's a obviously big aspect of Sacramento's offense here. And on the defensive end, like Miles Turner, obviously a guy that you would think could help shore up the defense, but you need to maintain your identity of being elite on the offensive end. And obviously Miles Turner didn't exactly let you do that in Indiana, which makes it complicated, as we're talking about, to find the ideal fit next to Domas.
Just to be a brat, I'm going to throw out there, and because people would throw it into my post-game chats all the time, Domantas Sabonis is second in the league in total turnovers. So when you do talk about passing ability and things like that, that definitely is something that a lot of just people who are angry out there will throw at you. So I feel like I have to present that as well. And I'm going to present Brendan with a list full of possible free agent names. We talked with Ben Ross about it yesterday. He didn't have much interest in any of these free agents. I'm going to ask Brendan if he has any good feelings about any of these potential free agents that can fill Sacramento's final roster spot. We talk about that next right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Subscribe to Sacktown Sports on YouTube and watch the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross, Stiles and Watkins, and the Drive Guys. Live Monday through Friday from 6 to 6. Plus view archive shows and exclusive content.
Subscribe at youtube.com/Sacktown Sports.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture with daily use.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave inviting you to make the switch to electric this spring and save big with American Energy. Stay ahead of those spiking energy bills this summer with up to $9,000 in rebates on a new ultra-high efficiency comfort system. American Energy is providing huge rebates from SMUD as well as spring specials by installing one of many incredibly efficient AC options available to you right now. Get rid of those fluctuating gas bills in the winter and switch to year-round all-electric with American Energy. Let them perform a free in-home energy efficiency analysis and see where they can help you save for the warmer months ahead. These guys are the best. Been serving the greater Sacramento area since 1981. A+ from the Better Business Bureau. Learn more by calling 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Sacramento, Dirks Bentley's coming to town.
What was I thinking? I'm getting drunk all over.
Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo for Country in the Park 2. And he's bringing some friends. Parmalee.
I love you different.
Tyler Rich. Dasha, Kelsey Hart, and more. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo. Get your tickets today before they're sold out at CITPFest.com.
Brought to you by RVs of Sacramento and Hoblet Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram Center.
Labor Day savings now at Maida Chevy with $12,000 off MSRP on every new Silverado half-ton Turbo Max in stock after rebates.
$12,000 off every Silverado LT Turbo Max at Maida Chevy with at least 5 at this price.
Labor Day savings up to $12,000 off MSRP exclusively at Maida Chevy at MaidaChevy.com. Sacramento Silverado headquarters. Together, let's drive.
Not available with special financing, lease, and some other offers. Must trade in 2010 model year or newer. Ends 9/3/24.
Made a great deal at Maida.
Sacktown Sports.
Check us out on YouTube. Search Sacktown Sports and subscribe.
Stiles and Watkins, bringing you all the way up to 2 p.m. Drive guys take over after that. Whitey Gleason on vacation out there in Hawaii. I don't know why, as I've mentioned countless times, we have the Olympics on here throughout the show. I don't know why the weightlifting just made me think of this, but it really did just hit me how funny the concept of like the first Olympics was. Like what I kind of imagine it was like Anchorman, the scene in Anchorman where they all meet up and then have the brawl and everything. Was it just a matter of, hey, like you bring your best weightlifters, we'll bring ours, and let's let's squat up and let's like come see me in Greece and we'll lift it out real quick and determine.
I like to imagine it's just one country just claimed, like, to Noah Lyles' point, like the US sitting here like we got the best basketball players in the world, and the other countries are like, nah, you need to prove it. And basketball's not the greatest example,
like equestrian. Oh, I can make my horse dance way better than you can make your
I'm
horse
like, you don't
dance.
even understand. We got shorter jockeys over here. You stand no chance. And it's just a big flexing competition, really.
I haven't thought about that either. Like, I mean, I guess it used to be a thing, like the Russian judge in gymnastics. But like, how do you properly like have a judgment system when everybody has some version of a horse in the race too? Like, no pun intended. Like, I didn't know. Like, UFC obviously or soccer has between international matches they make sure that the referees aren't from the same country as the teams playing, but like it just feels like naturally you're going to have some sort of biases and everything like that. So it is pretty interesting that the Olympics, I guess there is probably a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we never hear about, but it does seem to go by fairly smoothly without much interjection and controversy. So,
well, I think you're onto something there about it. I don't think it applies to only Olympics, I guess I'll say. I think that there are controversies about biases with NBA officials, NFL,
That's true,
and all of the above. And clearly Jordi Fernandez felt the type of way yesterday about French being the hometown and how they may have been officiated a little bit favorably.
Yeah, and I think South Sudan had a similar comment. I think Noel Dang mentioned something about the referees, and then there was something in the who was it? Somebody had some really damning quotes. It was for the qualifying for the Olympics, and it was in, I think it might have been whoever was it. No, I can't remember who it was, but somebody was out there saying, "Look at the refs. Just go ask the refs. Go look at the referees from that game, and you'll see how the game ended up happening." It was an NBA player, and I can't remember who it was, but yeah, definitely there is some controversy around the Olympics and around international competition in general. But it for all intents and purposes, it kind of feels like things slide a bit under the radar, as have these free agents, which is why they have remained unsigned so far. Evan Siddery put out a list of the best remaining free agents. The Sacramento Kings do have the ability to bring in one more rostered player. They can either hold on to that roster spot as they've done in the past and keep it for trade flexibility, or they can, of course, add another player, or maybe even, we've talked with Boogie Ellis. Isaiah Crawford was on the station earlier, even though he's on a two-way already. The Kings can definitely use that final roster spot to sign somebody who gets a training camp invite and doesn't have a full season contract. But Brendan, I'm curious, and feel free to stop me as you hear a name that maybe interests you. But let's go down Evan Siddery's best remaining free agents, starting first and foremost with one Isaac Okoro, who is restricted. And I believe, Brendan, I don't know if you've seen, but I'm pretty sure that there is some smoke with Isaac Okoro right now and where he might go. Does Isaac Okoro, not in general for him with the Kings, but specifically, actually a sign and trade, I'm seeing it right here, why the Nets, Cavs, Isaac Okoro sign and trade fell through. So apparently he is back to being available. But what are your thoughts on Isaac Okoro? I know Whitey is really high on Isaac Okoro coming into the league out of Auburn, if I'm not mistaken. He was kind of thought as a 3-and-D player, more so with the emphasis on the defense. Are you an Isaac Okoro fan?
I am a big Isaac Okoro guy.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, to be honest, at the time of the draft, that was probably the draft that I dug the most into. If I'm remembering right, this is the Tyrese Halliburton draft. It may have also been like 1 year, give or take, in either direction.
2020. Yep, it was. In fact.
Yeah, and he's 4 years into the league now. This guy is 23, still fairly young. 6'5", with a 6'8" wingspan that he's listed as. And to be honest, I had him at number 2 on my board.
Wow.
At the time of the draft, and saw a lot of Andre Iguodala in there, where there is obviously he's got a solid build to him at a young age already. I think sometimes being as a somewhat skinnier dude myself, it's easier to look a little bit more defined, I guess, in a way. But I think that Isaac Okoro definitely has a build that makes you think that there is some sense of strength and physicality to go along with, again, 6'5", 6'8" wingspan there. And again, at a fairly young age, I think the playmaking was really interesting on the offensive end. But during his time in the NBA, he's been left about as wide open as you will see throughout the league, and kind of struggled to knock it down at times. Now, you look at last year, 39.1% from 3 on 3.1 attempts per game. Sounds great. A very large majority of those, again, wide open. Like wide open to the point that you never see.
Like Draymond wide open.
Yeah, Draymond wide
standing
open,
in the paint.
Except he doesn't look like he's got a backpack on while he's shooting, which makes me a little bit more encouraged about the potential there. So I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah.
But through 4 years now, we're talking about 34.7% from 3 on a total of 757 attempts from beyond the arc. So that sounds fine to me. And I think it would be very, very difficult for Sacramento to reach a price to get this guy, considering he's a restricted free agent. But he's kind of as close as it gets in my mind to remaining guys that would perfectly fill the void that you're kind of looking for. Almost an upgraded KZ Okpala, Kessler Edwards, Mo Harkless, the defensive guys that you're really trying to fill on this Kings roster at the forward position.
Brendan, I'm going to go through the rest of the names and just say yes or no if they intrigue you, and then we can talk about some of your yeses when we're through the list. Markelle Fultz, does he intrigue you? Not necessarily for the Kings, but just maybe as a conversation point.
Yeah, good player. Not for the Kings. Got enough card.
Lonnie Walker.
Again, not quite big enough from the Kings perspective.
Cedi Osman.
I do like Cedi Osman. Interesting to me.
Talon Horton-Tucker.
I also think there's some interest there. Young.
Dennis Smith Jr.
I like Dennis Smith on teams, not the Kings.
O'Shea Brissett, NBA champion O'Shea Brissett.
That's fine to me. Also, great TikToker.
Doug McBucket. Kind of good YouTube channel too, don't you?
He does. Yes, I like Doug McDermott. Shares an agent with played with Domas before. Shares an agent with Kevin Herter. I like Doug McDermott.
Jay Crowder.
Yeah, his fall off was very rapid for me. Yeah, I love Jay Crowder. I still would say yes, I think.
Wasn't expecting that. Marcus Morris.
Our guy Alan Stiles would love this. I would go yes.
Oh wow, I still can't differentiate the two. They're not Alan and Marcus Morris, but Marcus and Markieff. Rob Covington, this is my guy.
Yeah, I would also say yes. I'm just going to add that I think for a lot of these, we're also talking about second string, eighth ninth guy.
I think all of these guys were talking pretty much
Absolutely.
8th or 9th guy. And finally, Davis Bertans.
I wouldn't mind it. Feels a little repetitive with Trey Lyles.
Okay, now I have your yeses and I have your nos. You tell me which ones you are specifically interested from a Kings perspective. So you had a yes on Markelle Fultz. Do you have a yes on that from a Kings perspective?
I do not. I think there are enough guards. I know he has a little more size. I thought this man was about to be the truth when he came out of Washington, just like everybody did. And then injuries or whatever you may want to call it, with whatever the heck Philadelphia may have done to him, doesn't do it for me with the Kings.
For sure. Jetty Osmond, does that get you going for the Kings?
That actually does. I don't think he's
Glad
the
you said
same. There's not the same hype when he was when LeBron James was inviting
That's
that
right.
man to workouts and everything. But I think that's interesting to me. You need
He's a
wing
good hustle
forward
player.
size
Yeah.
for the Kings, and he's a playable guy. You can give him 12 minutes a night.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. He's the name on this list that I think feels the most realistic and the most plug and play. Like I could see Jetty Osmond actually getting some good minutes for the Kings if he were to come here after some time. Taylor Horton Tucker, yes in general, but is it a yes for the Kings? And I think I saw a report the other day that Taylor Horton Tucker said he has received no interest from NBA teams.
Jeez, from
it's a little
NBA teams
tough.
as a whole is crazy. I would still say yes. It's also insane to me that this guy was so hyped up and the Lakers refused.
What if I told you he's
include him.
23 years old?
I would believe it, actually. I would still say yes for the Kings. Again, like you said with Chetty, I think that anybody that we could think would be able to give you even 10 minutes a night is going to be a yes for me. And I think that THT qualifies.
This is from friend of the show, Brett Siegel. He wrote, Taylor Horton Tucker is reportedly still looking for, quote, a real offer in free agency. He reported on Thursday, Brett Siegel did, that the guard, quote, hasn't received any real offers from NBA teams and could instead generate interest from European clubs. Siegel listed the Dallas Mavericks as a team that was thought to be interested in Horton Tucker, but has since added Spencer Dinwiddie. So definitely interesting to not hear Taylor Horton Tucker's phone ring at all. Again, only 23 years old and has definitely, I think regardless of what you might think about his actual game, he's had a lot of stat stuffing nights where he's had some triple doubles and has really looked promising at different points throughout his career. So definitely interesting to see Taylor Horton Tucker not receiving any interest. O'Shea Brissett, I'm going to be honest, Brendan, most of the things I know about O'Shea Brissett are vibes based. I don't really know much about his game. Do you like O'Shea Brissett for the on the court product for the Sacramento Kings?
He interests me as a body, like a Kepler Edwards sort of guy. But I will tell you, I have some Celtics related friends that I may have heard from one of them last year that, similar things to what I heard from Goga Batadze a few years ago, that man may be the worst player in the league. So
fun,
maybe not the brightest star, I guess I would say, but I also think the Kings need bodies and he kind of fills that.
Well, they already have Jalen McDaniels, so I don't know if they need two of the worst players in the NBA. Doug McDermott, I'm going to answer this one for you. I think this is an absolute yes, and I'm honestly shocked it hasn't happened.
I think the same. I like him better than Davis Bertans, and I think that they fill a similar role. But I think the movement, shooting, being able to come off DHOs, not need to square your hips before you shoot, and just have that sort of spacing that you provide to a team, even if you're not bringing that much defensively. I think there's something there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you made the point to be made is that he has a previous relationship with Domantas Sabonis in Indiana, and he does have a relationship with Kevin Huerter. I believe it was a Zach Lowe interview a couple years ago where Kevin Huerter said the first thing I did when I got traded to Sacramento was ask Doug McDermott what it's like to play with Sabonis. And I believe Kevin said that Doug just had absolutely nothing but incredible things to say and was like, you're going to get the most open looks you've ever gotten in your entire career. So the second I heard that was said by Doug McDermott, I pretty much made note of it and said, well, this is just going to happen. So like I said, I'm pretty surprised that nothing's happened yet. And I'm going to group these next guys together. You mentioned Davis Bertans, so we won't get to him. But I think these three guys are all kind of clumped in a, well, yeah, I definitely no question would have done that 5 years ago. I don't know about now. Jay Crowder, Marcus Morris, Rob Covington. Do you have any quick thoughts on them and their potential fit with the King?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all fine. I think that Robert Covington may catch my eye a little bit more than the others just because
Same.
he had some history of even being a little bit of a rim protector of
You
sorts.
look at the stocks from that guy, there was a lot of seasons where he had 3+ steals and blocks.
Yeah, and I'll say if you go back and look at some of the Kings' recent draft guys, stocks are a commonality between some of those guys. So he may interest me more than others, but I kind of think all of them have some value. They've been on championship contending teams as well. Even if they played 0 minutes, they have experience, and I think that the Kings could use a few more vets in that room as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great point because especially with JaVale McGee out the door, I believe Alex Len is currently the oldest player on the Kings roster. I'll have to double check that. But yeah, last year, I believe Sasha, HB, and JaVale were all the oldest players, and all of them are now gone. So that is definitely an interesting note and maybe something that we can continue to track as the King. Oh, DeMar. DeMar is now the oldest King. With him, of course, happy birthday, DeMar, being 35 years old. And then, next closest is Alex Len. So definitely might be looking to add a bit of a veteran presence, but we'll see about that. We will not be talking anything veteran when it comes to Isaiah Crawford, the Kings' newest player. They're currently on a two-way contract, going to spend some time with the Stockton Kings this year. Hopefully he can play with the big club as well. The Drive guys spoke with him yesterday. We're going to run that full audio right here next on Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
You never know what you might hear when listening to a Sacramento Kings game.
Out of Keegan, going for another triple. Man, is he feeling it. Keegan, can he do it? Yes, there's number 11, Keegan Murray. Keegan steps back. He just knocked down his 12th three-pointer, a Kings franchise record. He's got 45 points.
Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with Sacktown Sports and the Sacktown Sports app.
Jason Mraz and the Super Band live. The mystical, magical, rhythmical, radical ride. Friday, August 9th, the venue at Thunder Valley. Jason Mraz and the Super Band with special guest Molly Miller Trio. For tickets, visit ThunderValleyResort.com. Jason Mraz and the Super Band in concert. Pick up the new album, Mystical, Magical, Rhythmical, Radical Ride.
Hey, everybody, it's your boy Drapes, Kyle Draper from Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. I can't speak enough about my new Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV. I recently got back from a long trip. I was tired. My back was aching from being on the airplane. I was dragging. But once I hopped in my all-new electric SUV, all was good. The first thing I did was put on the seat massager. It really made a difference. I challenge you to check it out for yourself. Go visit my friends at Mercedes-Benz of Stockton and tell them Drapes sent you. It's just a short drive down I-5 or online at mbfstockton.com.
Ooh, ma. What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs. You sound very calm. I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees. Ooma. Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
10. Nice work. Thanks. Taking Nugenix Total T makes a huge difference for me. Nugenix? That's the testosterone booster with TV ads with Frank Thomas, right? Yes. Are they still giving out complimentary bottles? Yes. Nugenix is a great way to feel stronger with more energy and endurance. And as Frank says, she'll like it too.
Text radio to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix. Text RADIO to 321-321. That's radio to 321-321.
Keep your family cool and comfortable this summer with Bell Brothers' best summer ever financing event. When you replace your AC system, we're offering 0 payments, 0 interest for 6 months on approved credit, then low fixed rate thereafter. That's right, 0 payments, 0 interest for 6 months on any new AC system. It's an incredible offer on an incredible new AC system, but only for a limited time. This offer is also available on any plumbing, water heater, or insulation projects over $1,000. So call Bell Brothers now. Your family will thank you because they'll be cool and comfortable. But you have to hurry. Our offer for 0 payment, 0 interest for 6 months, then low fixed rate thereafter ends soon. Estimates and second opinions are free. So call now to keep your family cool and comfortable during Bell Brothers' best summer ever event. Our number is 916-444-1234 or find us online at theNoSurpriseGuys.com. That's theNoSurpriseGuys.com.
The No Surprise Guys, Bell Brothers.
Sacktown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
Isaiah Crawford, Sacramento Kings forward, joining us here on the Drive, guys. Sacktown Sports 1140 on the phone. Isaiah, our guy Jay said you were supposed to be in studio. What, you stuck in traffic or something, bro? Where you at, man?
Nah, lost track of time after my workouts, trying to get my kind of life settled in my apartment. So just lost track of time and trying to find some food and stuff. So, but I'm here now, and I'm happy to be here. I'm glad you guys had me to be here. So.
No, man, we're excited to have you, man. Welcome to Sacramento. Just what has this journey been like with you? From the time you left Louisiana Tech, going through workouts, the draft, everything, summer league. What's it been like for you? And now that you're here in Sacramento,
it's just been great. I say it's been a great overall experience for sure. Just didn't really know what to expect coming into each event that I was invited to. It was just my first time doing everything. So just coming in with a positive attitude and just a working mindset of just trying to do your best and, show all these scouts and everybody that I can play with these guys as well.
Isaiah, one of the things that jumps out at you in your time at Louisiana Tech is that you got better every single season. Every single season, statistically and otherwise, intangibles, you got better. What do you attribute that to? Is it your own personal drive to get better? Is it the coaching? Is there something else?
Yeah, I say it's a bit of everything. Just bits and pieces from like you said, just the coaches and just as my years of being a college athlete. I say one of the main things was me being injured and getting to see the game in another view. Just being on, the sidelines, on the bench, and just watching how things go, whether that's positively or negative. I feel like that helps out a lot more. And I say my drive as well, because that just going through those two injuries, I kind of found something in me that I didn't know that I had, and just how resilient I was just throughout those two injuries. Just something that I found in me that I didn't know I had for sure. So,
Isaiah, yeah, you referenced those injuries, 2 ACL injuries on the same knee, too, on the same knee. You talk about your perseverance. Who did you lean on? How did you get through that tough time during your college career?
Yeah, for sure. My parents, they obviously wasn't at the school at Tech around me, so I couldn't go to them, personally in person, to talk to them about it. So I was with my strength coach and my trainers, with those two people for the most part, and with my coaches, them encouraging me and my teammates as well throughout my years, just telling me how good I can be, and just if you keep working, this can improve your game, and just you can find a hungrier person. So,
Isaiah, a lot of folks in this area more than likely have watched highlight packages on you, but they didn't have a chance to see you night in and night out in your time at La Tech. Yeah. What are folks going to be more impressed by? Your defense, which we all know about, or your offense, which is, in my view, underrated?
Yeah, I'll take my defense for sure. Just being versatile, just switching on everybody, getting my hands on passes and passing lanes, and being able to guard people's best defenders, and just snag rebounds, snag just many different passes. I say that'd be the main thing that people are looking forward to. And as the season goes on, I think my offensive game will start opening up and just adjusting to everything for sure. So, yeah.
Isaiah Crawford joining us here on the Drive, guys. Sacramento Kings forward on a two-way deal. Isaiah, what has the organization told you, some of the coaches, maybe Mike Brown, Doug Christie, just about what they want to see from you to help you make the big league club?
Just staying ready, being prepared. You never know what situation you could get into, and being prepared is the most important thing, and also being aggressive. Not saying to look for your own, but always, like I said, be prepared for anything, whether that's on the offensive, defensive end. So.
This summer, and we hear this from established veterans all the time. A player said, "You know what? I need to improve my 3-point shooting. I'm knocking up 1,000 shots a day." They'll do different things to improve a side of their game. What is the part of your game that you have focused on the most this summer that you felt needed, even if it didn't need improvement, you wanted to take that part of your game to another level?
Definitely my shooting. That's the main thing that I focused on this whole summer. And then to be more specific, just catch and shoot threes, especially in the corner. I know I've been told a bunch of times that those corner shots are very important. As a guy in my role, been told to be a 3-and-D guy, and being able to sit in the corner and wait and be prepared to shoot the ball when the best player maybe doesn't have the best shot and they kick it out. You got to be ready to shoot. So that's the main thing I focus on.
Good stuff right there from Isaiah Crawford. Isaiah, you went to Louisiana Tech, P.J. Brown, Karl Malone as well.
Yeah.
Tell me about the decision to go there. Were you recruited by other schools? And what does it mean to you to, be in the NBA now from a school like Louisiana Tech?
Yeah, it means everything to come from a school like that. I mean, it's not very highly touted, especially not in the high majors, but definitely had a bunch of good guys come throughout that school and be one of those guys to make it to, the NBA. So, I just want to show those guys that it can happen, and not in just Louisiana Tech, but anywhere you are. As long as you're doing your thing and you're playing the right way, somebody will find you for sure.
So you said at the top that you got lost. You lost track of time. Have you gotten lost at all in Sacramento? Meaning, are you finding your way? Are you learning about where some of the good places to hang out are, restaurants and this and that, shopping? How is Sacramento treating you since you've been here?
It's been good. It's trying to get used to all the different lanes, and I remember going onto the highway. They had the little street lights that blink one by one.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't confusing, but it was just different. They don't have that where I'm from in Texas. So, but Sacramento is definitely a nice place and has a lot of different stores and restaurants that I'll be looking forward to going to for sure.
Jay, you got any recommendations for him? You sending him to Fixins or something like that? Where should he go?
Yeah, we'll send him to Fixins. We got to get a location. We'll have you speak to the Kings and see where it goes, because Isaiah's going to be back and forth between Stockton and Sac.
That's true.
We got to get him laced up properly.
Right. Yeah. Well, Fixins, when you up in here in Sac, they'll take care of you. That's for sure. Tell me about the next month or two before camp begins and everybody reports. What's your workout schedule? Where are you going to be at?
Well, I'm going to be, obviously in the Golden One Center working out, and I work out early in the mornings around 9:30, and lift right after that. So that's kind of really my whole day for sure. Just doing that routine every day throughout the whole month.
Let me ask you about the Summer League experience too, because Doug Christie, the Kings legend, got to coach that Summer League squad. What's your impressions of Doug, and could you feel the fire and the passion burning from him, wanting to win every game that y'all played in?
Yeah, he's definitely a fiery coach. He reminds me of definitely some of my coaches back at home. So I was kind of used to his energy and just how he handled himself and how he handled us, the team. So Doug Christie is a great guy and a great coach as well. So I was happy to be around him.
Great stuff, Isaiah Crawford. Welcome to Sacramento. Welcome to Stockton, man. The reigning conference player of the year in CUSA. Appreciate you coming on. We got to do it again soon, man.
Trying to find out where to catch your favorite team's games?
Are you a fan of the Kings, Niners, and the NFL?
Well, Sacktown Sports has you covered.
Touchdown! San Cisco! It's all on his shoulders. Cox rocks. He fires for the win. He's got the triple.
Catch all your Kings, Niners, and NFL games all year long on Sacktown Sports and sacktownsports.com.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go. I didn't think I'd survive. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there.
Covenant House helped me break the cycle of homelessness in my family. They gave me the love that I needed.
Over 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed tonight. When youth who are experiencing homelessness have a hot meal, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love, they can overcome heartbreaking challenges and have a brighter future.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding. I'm a speaker, I'm an author. Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
If you or someone you love is asking for help, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
If you've been on the American River, it's uphill, it's downhill. There's trails everywhere that you can walk, and it just makes you happy. And I couldn't walk, and it was terrible. I was turning into a real crab. I went to the Good Feet store and I tried on the arch supports. I could not believe that I was not in pain. I can walk, I can run, I can jump, I can do anything. My name's Terry, and that's my Good Feet story.
The Good Feet store in Sacramento, Roseville, and Vacaville.
Hi, this is Frank LaRosa.
And this is Scott Marsh.
Join us weekly for Golf to Go right here on Sacktown Sports. We talk to all the local golf experts in the area and give you the latest on all the courses as well.
And not to mention all the golf legends and celebrities, along with all the latest in equipment and tournaments too.
Most importantly, we'll just have some fun talking about a game that's fun to play.
You know it's my favorite hour of the week, Frank.
Golf to Go, Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on Sacktown Sports. Give us a listen. I think you'll enjoy it.
Bonneville International Radio Station contests are open to participants at least 18 years of age and older that are residents of California and who reside in one of the 6 counties that make up the Sacramento metro area, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest are not eligible to win, unless the station otherwise specifies in its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 30 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. For a copy of the general contest rules, visit KHTK.com.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios. KHTK AM Sacramento. KYMX HD2 Sacramento. Sacramento's official home for the San Francisco 49ers.
Touchdown! San Francisco!
Sacktown Sports.
Live and local. This is Sacktown Sports.
Well, it is lunchtime, and I promised Brendan I would do the lunch question with him, but instead, since Kyle Draper and Chris there, CG, decided to ask Isaiah Crawford about how he's liking Sacramento, how he's finding himself around the area. He said he complimented the restaurants around here, said he's having a little bit of trouble with the lanes. I don't think I'm quite familiar with what the confusion is there. But Brendan, I'll just ask you in general. I mean, you're not a Sacramento native. This is probably the only free promo we'll do on this show, but what have been some of your favorite Sacramento staples if you had to recommend to Isaiah Crawford or to Boogie Ellis where they should potentially try out? What would be one or some of your selections?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not really the guy to ask this question to. Let me tell you, I'm not a big food guy. I keep it fairly simple. I try to keep it cheap more often than not when I'm trying to go out to eat. And
Simone told me to not use the word cheap, use the word affordable.
That, I actually understand where she's coming from.
Great game.
Yeah, I think that is fair. But I will say there's an Asian food place in downtown Sac, and I'm absolutely forgetting the name. They're known for their, why do I want to say it's like lemon something desserts? Clearly I'm not good at this and not a big
Maybe the
food
chat will help
guy.
you out.
Say that again.
Maybe the chat will help you out.
Yeah. I will also be able to figure it out if you give me a second to Google. But
Yep, I can
for the
definitely do
most
that.
part, honestly, not exactly the guy to ask.
Well, it's good because I am the guy to ask. I've been born and raised here. I love to eat. Hello. And yeah, I mean, my number one recommendation, and I will say on the off occasion, you do maybe see a Sacramento King or some Sacramento Kings personnel there. I haven't been there when they've been there, but I've definitely, had some friends and some family send photos of when they are there. Orphan Breakfast House, absolutely fantastic. My girlfriend used to work there, so I have no problem plugging them at all. It's fantastic. I think it's probably the best breakfast food in Sacramento. The only catch there is it's cash only, so that tends to catch people off guard, but they do have, I believe, an ATM that doesn't charge you or anything. That would be my recommendation to one Isaiah Crawford if his teammates or the organization hasn't already recommended it, because I'm telling you, Orphan Breakfast House is the place to go to eat. It's right by Roxy's, for those familiar with that. I think UC Davis Hospital or they're I think they have a school over there that is over there as well. So that would be my recommendation. Were you able to find what place you're thinking of, Brendan?
I did. I appreciate Manny and Ward in the chat for trying to figure it out, because lemon something desserts was not the right thing.
Not helpful.
Banana
Not helpful
cream pie that they are known for.
Did you say banana cream pie?
Yes,
and you said lemon something dessert.
Yeah. I know I wasn't close, but
brother,
are they both fruits? I think they're both fruits.
Lemon and banana. Yeah, I think you're good. They got seeds.
I think, clearly, if I'm asking these questions, like I said, I'm not exactly a food guy. I will say this recommendation came from Sean Cunningham. Sean is absolutely the man to ask. You could be in any city in the United States, and I am telling you, I will ask Sean, hey, where would you go?
Yep.
And I'm not going to say I'm going to go there every night, because he may have a little bit of expensive taste sometimes. But it's Frank's Fats that I'm talking about.
Brother, so he lists like the nicest restaurant.
I'm just saying, I know it's a little bougie, but I went there one time and amazing food.
No, and your description was correct. They are very much known for their Asian cuisine. Absolutely. It is fantastic. I have been there once, I believe. And it was great. I think Alan went a couple months ago and also had rave reviews of it. But yeah, I was just going to say, when you mentioned Sean, like, that is the one person who, like I said, I'm born and raised here. But if Sean Cunningham tells me, try this place out, or this place is bomb, or hey, maybe you're wrong about this place and they actually do it right, Sean's the one person where I am just no question going to agree with, because that dude knows everything about anything that is fun or entertaining or enjoyable. So yeah, definitely shout out Sean. And yeah, I don't really know who Brandon Aiyuk is shouting out these days. Again, we don't have any super exciting news. A trade has not happened on the Brandon Aiyuk front, but Emil Fregoso, our San Francisco 49ers insider, who is at training camp today. He wasn't able to make it yesterday because of difficulties with the train, but he did make it out to practice today. Definitely would have been awesome if news would have broken today with Emil on the scene, but he did, for what it's worth, send us a Josina, I believe it was Josina Anderson. It was, no, I'm sorry, it was Diana Rossini tweet that essentially is saying that nothing is in place quite yet, but they are still negotiating. This is again from Diana Rossini. This is an exact quote here. The Pittsburgh Steelers, along with other teams, are in communication and still, all caps, negotiating with the 49ers for Brandon Aiyuk. No deal is done, per sources. That is again from Diana Rossini. You have Jonathan Jones as well on social media saying the Steelers remain in the mix for 49ers receiver Brandon Aiyuk, but no deal is in place as negotiations continue. So that again is still a bit at a stalemate. And I mean, it does seem, Brendan, that the Pittsburgh Steelers are the name that is showing up more so than anybody. Again, you can put on your more so journalist hat than specific 49ers analyst hat, but does that tell you anything? Are you reading that as maybe the Steelers are at the moment, because again, this has been incredibly fluid, but at the moment, does it feel like the Steelers to you are the favorites to land Aiyuk, or do you still feel like San Francisco is most likely?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a journalistic perspective, again, rather than really trying to analyze this whole thing from a football perspective, we didn't hear anything, and we still have not, unless I've missed something, about what the potential package would be.
Yes, correct.
And the only way that the Browns, the Patriots trade packages are coming out, and what the Niners are somewhat seemingly willing to accept, is from the Niners side, who are, again, very close-lipped. So, to me, this screams that, like, that is a place that Aiyuk potentially would want to go. Like, again, journalistic side of me thinks that this is coming from Aiyuk's side, potentially, from his camp and what they may prefer to do. I know Nate mentioned earlier the idea of Pickens, the idea of Fitzpatrick, and potential guys that could come back from the Niners perspective, but if we're going to hear full out potential trade packages from these other teams, it's hard for me to put credit to the other reports where those are not mentioned.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to look around to see if there is anything else that's new. It doesn't appear so. From the Niners training camp, Fred Warner did not practice today due to foot irritation. And also, this is interesting, Nate. I don't know if you have any notes on this. I don't know if you saw him when you were out there at camp, but one Tariq Owens, son of Terrell Owens, has been waived today, and they are saying it is with an injury designation. Sources say he has a small fracture in his right hand that will sideline him about 5 to 7 weeks. Were you able, Nate, to see Tariq Owens while you were out at Niner camp? And if you did anything stick out to you? I know he had one really good day of practice, and I believe I had heard, at least during the I believe it might have been during when only rookies were reporting to camp, but he's gone through some good days and definitely had some bad days, is how I'll phrase it.
Yeah, in the draft in the combine, right? He was the one with the ugly footwork.
I think it was an open workout.
Yeah. I believe I did see him out there. I really don't have much to say about him.
Yeah, you should.
It was
8th receiver on the team.
Yeah, there's already too many receivers on this roster. We got too much going on. I know it's cool. T.O. whatever.
Yep.
T.O. is a polarizing figure. Love him or hate him. I actually asked him a few weeks ago about Brandon Aiyuk, and when he was at JaVale McGee's Water Life
game.
Yeah. And he had some interesting things to say. If you want to check out our YouTube shorts on Sacktown Sports 1140 on YouTube. But that's good luck. Just good luck, man.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
hear New England needs some receivers. So
I've also heard that as well.
That is the most PC way to say that he is not it.
Yeah. Honestly,
and Nate, you're great for that. That's exactly how you do journalism.
I like, T.O.'s all right in my book as far as I know. My dad's not a huge fan, but I don't, he's nice to me.
For what it's worth, I know during the draft process, there was the which Niner adjacent star
Jerry's son.
Will they take
Luke
McCaffrey or Frank Gore Jr. as well, right?
Where did Luke go?
He is where do you think
Minnesota?
Funny enough, he is with the Commanders.
Oh, interesting.
Adam Peters, right? I mean, I do wonder, and I think I did see that Luke McCaffrey is currently slated to be their third receiver. It might just be their lead slot guy, but I think I saw a depth chart that had him as their third receiver. So that's definitely something interesting for sure. I mean, just to have a stray McCaffrey out there, I think
you never know.
That could definitely be something for whatever reason Niner fans could decide to get upset about. But you got bigger things to be upset about right now, and that is the Brandon Aiyuk situation, which, again, you check every 15 minutes and you are at a different point of the saga. Coming up next, we are going to continue to talk some 49ers. Christian McCaffrey is going to be out the entirety of the preseason. Does that matter at all? And some fantasy football advice. Take this 49er, and ESPN.com says you will have no problems whatsoever. I tell you who that is coming up next right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
On the move? Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sacktown Sports app will let you stay connected to your passion. Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with the Sacktown Sports app.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio. So we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
Well, what other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Sacktown Sports. Check us out on YouTube. Search Sacktown Sports and subscribe.
Yeah, thanks, Nate. I had a face on because I thought, is it Wipe Me Down?
Wipe Me Down, yeah.
Okay, I kind of thought it was. It wasn't coming through super clear. Is that the original instrumental, or is that like a?
I believe it's the original. It could be a knockoff, but no. It's weird when you hear an instrumental without lyrics for the first time.
Sounds a little bit more, not clubby because the song is clubby, but it just sounds a little bit more like, I guess, EDM, for a lack of a better term, than what I would have thought.
It might be some, but I'm pretty sure.
No, I mean, I definitely recognize it. I just,
I do not. To be honest, I never would have pieced those two things together.
Wipe me down.
For the most part, I've recognized instrumentals up to this point. I did appreciate the Soulja Boy Kiss through the phone one earlier.
Oh, yeah, bro.
That one
about, I don't know that I could do the phone number off the top of my head.
678-999-8212, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. You can do it with the text line, but you got to figure out the flow.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll have Alan do that.
I definitely did call that number when I was a kid, and it led you to a Soulja Boy hotline where it's just like, hey, man, how's it going? Soulja Boy here, your boy. Leave a message. And I think it was just like a fan account or something.
Okay, we're here. So real quick,
why not?
Did you guys ever know that Soulja Boy tried to release his own video game console?
I did. Yes. Yeah.
And it just fell apart. I think it was just games
seen that
from
one
other
coming,
consoles.
huh?
Yeah. But he's a gamer.
I think it was like a mod, wasn't it? Where it was like a
emulator.
mod, an emulator that essentially just played
old
like
Nintendo games. So illegal. Yeah.
I bet if you ask him, though, he would say that he was the inspiration for some of the biggest things today.
Oh.
And honestly, he's been proven correct more often than not. So I'm kind of feeling like I should believe that guy a little bit more than I usually do.
The amount of songs that has been stolen straight up from Soulja Boy is actually crazy. There's a song called What's Happening in which Drake, somebody tell me what's really going on.
Yeah.
Drizzy, back up in this thing. I'm ready. What's happening? That is literally Soulja Boy has a song that's way worse, by the way. It's called, as you can tell by the title, What's Happening? Like it's with E's I-N. What's Happening? It is what's happening. It's terrible. Maybe
I'm just gonna say, if the remix blew up more than the original, maybe that says you didn't do it very well.
It's not a great song. Let me tell you, it's not a great song at all. But Beyonce also, samples, not samples, but she straight up like does the hop up out the bed, turn my swag on, take a look in the mirror, say what's up. She like literally quotes that in one of her songs. So it's like her hook. It's a hook in one of her songs.
It gets so dicey because it's like, what is that, a sample? Is that an homage?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
It's
so
terrible.
it's so you used to be able to like just sample things kind of not for free, but now samples cost so much money to get and use legit. It's great. Music industry is wild.
It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. Well,
good thing Brendan got out.
That's crazy, Nate. That's crazy.
I couldn't help myself.
You say out, I could still get back in. I don't know what you're talking about.
Look,
I can't help myself.
and Brennan's not the only one at the
Be a
station.
feature, you let me know.
I will. I have no flow.
I don't either. I don't have any rhythm or flow.
I'm no Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, definitely not. Oh my gosh, this has gone off the rails. And by the way, for what it's worth, Brendan's not the only person who's musically inclined at the station here. I've just so happened to know that, I'll just say another insider here does have some Spotify music. So it's not just Brendan.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Whitey's guitar.
Oh no, I mean
I know what you're talking about.
That's at a different level. Yes.
Yeah, we can keep that quiet.
No, everybody go look up Frankie Cardicelli hip hop freestyle, and I promise you will definitely find nothing. You actually won't find anything. What you also will not find, how about this? I feel like I'm on my Alan Stiles with these transitions. You will not find Christian McCaffrey on the football field this preseason for the San Francisco 49ers, which of course you're not going to. Why risk McCaffrey, one of your best players, getting hurt? Here's what Kyle Shanahan had to say about McCaffrey being benched for the preseason.
McCaffrey status right now.
Christian has a calf strain. Did a couple days ago. It's all right. He didn't pull it or anything, but you guys probably won't see him this preseason.
Brought in Matt Breida, and we haven't seen Elijah Mitchell lately. What's Mitchell's status?
Elijah has a strained hamstring too. Didn't pull it, but we're going to be safe with him. So he's going to miss probably a week or so. So we had to bring Matt in, which was awesome to have Matt available. We needed some numbers out there and to be able to get a legit player who's had a hell of a career, who's been here before too. Felt pretty fortunate.
So there you go. Not only do you hear Christian McCaffrey will not be playing this preseason, but you also hear Elijah Mitchell. That comes as a bit of surprise. Didn't see much of that, but Elijah Mitchell as well has a calf strain. He will miss at least the first week of the preseason. I think Shanahan said could be 1 to 2 weeks. And then you get a nice little explanation on why the 49ers went out yesterday and signed one Matt Breida, former 49ers running back, joins back up with the squad. You definitely might see him with some carries on Thursday as the Niners travel to Tennessee to play the Tennessee Titans in their first preseason game. I believe that's on Thursday. It might be on Friday. Actually might be on Saturday too. I'm not sure what exact day that's coming up, but you can catch the first week of preseason this week, and it will be on Saturday at 4 p.m. against the Tennessee Titans. So don't expect to see Christian McCaffrey out there anytime soon, but somebody you should be seeing in just about every fantasy lineup you can come up with. Brendan, first and foremost, do you play fantasy football? I know you're not super into football in general, but fantasy is usually that bridge where you can get in at any point. Are you a fantasy football player at all?
I have not been before.
Really?
I plan to be, I have, but I've also been the guy that everybody hates in your fantasy league where for about 3 weeks, I'm really not checking in. And probably, to be honest, not even really changing my lineup, which also says something about it wasn't exactly a very high-stake league.
Yes,
but
good point.
I have educated myself even more so over the last season and a half or so. So I plan to do so this year for sure. Can I tell you a little bit of a funny story about Carlos Hyde? And
if it's actually funny.
Before?
Yeah.
A handful of years ago, it was probably close to 5 years ago or so, give or take a couple, I was in Mexico on a vacation with my family.
Okay.
And we went on a ziplining trip. And there's a dude on the same trip as us, probably only about 10, 12 people or so. And I look over at this guy and I'm like, well, this guy's like really built, And also,
you're saying you were ziplining?
Ziplining in Mexico.
My first thought was gonna have a tough time fitting in those straps.
Yeah, fair enough. Which we will get there.
Yep.
And I look at him, he's in full Adidas gear, right? And I'm like, okay, there's some sort of sponsorship here. And I end up talking to him and I found out, oh my God, this is Carlos Hyde. And I'm a Niners fan, and which, by the way, you hear stories about how when football guys go out, they may wear a little more shine than NBA
they want
guys
you to know
because you don't recognize their face. They always got a helmet on. So I didn't recognize Carlos Hyde's face right away. Right. I'll just say there was a point in the zip line where you got to hold a rope and essentially go full and swing through this like ravine.
Okay.
And we all did it, right? Carlos Hyde as well.
Okay.
And I went before him. And I'll just say that when he went on, there was a scream that you would never expect to ever come from an NFL player. You know, you may expect like your girlfriend that's never done this before to have this sort of reaction, this like where I was like, there is no chance that is that same dude. And sure enough, it may or may not have been have. And yeah, a little more to it, but I guess, yeah, to be honest, hesitating to say the rest. I will tell both of you two after the fact.
Sounds good. Is this what's happening in? That's what's happening in with Brendan Nunez.
That is what's really going on.
That's what was happening in. This song is so terrible. And if I'm not mistaken, Nate, is this the video where it has like a question mark that's just jumping around dancing with hands? It is. Nate's giving me a nod. Yeah, this is insane. Here it is. Soldier boy up in this thing. I'm ready. What's happening in? Drake took it, man. Bar for bar. They stole his flow, bar for bar.
You're talking about bad song, but you're over here reciting lyrics as it goes.
It just cracked me up when I first heard it. It came out of nowhere, and I mean that Drake song was everywhere, and I was like, "Wait, what? Drake took from Soldier Boy? What are we talking about?" Drake. Anyways, let me wrap this up real quick with the fantasy football advice for everybody here as they've been waiting on pins and needles. I know people do not mess around when it comes to their fantasy team. This is from ESPN.com. Last season, only 4 quarterbacks outscored one Jordan Love and Brock Purdy in ESPN leaves. Brock and Purdy. Love and Purdy are my favorites at quarterback, both excellent values as selections in the mid to late rounds of standard drafts. Only Dak Prescott threw more touchdowns than both of them. Only a handful achieved more yards. Love is more dynamic and throws far more often, and he carried fantasy managers to championships. Purdy seldom threw, but he is careful with that football and enjoys arguably the top support system in the league. His numbers certainly were there as well. Build with wide receivers mostly, invest wisely at running back and tight end, and Love and Purdy just keep falling in drafts. I think I knew this all along, but the mock drafts reinforce what your gut tries to tell you. Try more than a few strategies, but if you keep coming back to the same old players in the same old spots, then you know. At quarterback, do draft Jordan Love and Brock Purdy. That is from ESPN's Fantasy Football Do Draft list. Brock Purdy, Jordan Love among undervalued players. That's from Eric Karabell of ESPN.com. He says, in your fantasy football leagues, if you're going to take a quarterback, don't worry about getting the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allen, the Lamar Jacksons of the world. Those guys are overvalued. Wait, stack up on receivers, get your good high-end running backs or high reward running backs, and be okay with settling for Jordan Love and Brock Purdy. I'm telling you right now, I'm definitely going to do that in at least one of my leagues. I've always been a proponent of just waiting on quarterbacks because honestly, it's one of those things where if you're not getting the best of the best, honestly, they're all pretty much the same. So I think taking Brock Purdy and Jordan Love are 2 really good selections in your fantasy draft. And good luck to everybody as I've started to get texts from my fantasy group chats. I know it's starting to get towards that season. I'd like to do my draft the week after the final preseason game, and I know some people like to get it in a little bit earlier than that. Coming up next, we are going to talk about DeMar DeRozan. Shams Charania breaks down the signing of DeMar, and Mike Miller poses the question, is DeMar DeRozan actually underpaid? We discuss that next right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Did you miss any part of our live local shows? Don't worry, you never have to miss them again. Check out sacktownsports.com and search our podcast page and play our shows when you want. The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross, Stiles and Watkins, and The Drive Guys. Plus, other podcasts like Return of the Empire, Return of the Roar, The Stingers Up podcast, and Golf to Go with Frank LaRosa.
They're all available right now on sacktownsports.com.
Jerry and Kenny here from Bell Brothers. And if you've even thought of replacing your old, outdated, inefficient windows, now is the time to take action.
Right now at Bell Brothers, when you buy one window, you'll get the second one for 30% off. That's right. Buy one, get the second one 30% off.
That's real savings, up to $6,000. You have to buy at least 4 windows to qualify, and you can't mix windows and doors. But beyond that, every second window is 30% off.
For example, when you buy 10 windows, you will get 5 windows at 30% off. We also have 0% interest financing available for qualified buyers. Call for details.
To take advantage of our buy one, get one 30% off sale, call Bell Brothers now at 916-444-1234 or find us online at theNoSurpriseGuys.com.
The No Surprise Guys, Bell Brothers.
Sacramento, Dirks Bentley's coming to town. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo for Country in the Park 2. And he's bringing some friends. Parmalee, Tyler Rich, Dasha, Kelsey Hart, and more. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo. Get your tickets today before they're sold out at CITPFest.com.
Brought to you by RVs of Sacramento and Hoblet Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram Center.
If your passion is bass fishing, only one radio show has the action, information, and excitement of your favorite outdoor sport. Ultimate Bass, hosted by Tournament Bass Pro and California Outdoor Hall of Famer Kent Brown, takes you live to where the fish are biting every Saturday morning. Only Ultimate Bass feeds your passion with the latest news, products, tips, and advice from the pros. Ultimate Bass with Kent Brown, Saturday mornings at 5 a.m. on Sacktown Sports 1140, part of SEP's Saturday Morning Outdoors.
Hey, what's up? Kyle Draper from Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. I've had my new Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV for about 6 months now, and it's still the best car driving experience that I've ever had. And I got some news for you. Mercedes-Benz of Stockton doesn't just have cars or SUVs. They also have Sprinter vans, and they have special rates starting at 4.9% APR and an $8,000 discount on over 30 vans in stock. So head on down there right now to Mercedes-Benz of Stockton and check out their new Sprinter vans. Just a short drive right off the 5 in Stockton.
Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop. Here's Frank LaRosa.
Seems as though casual players are always trying to balance the desire to hit the golf ball farther with shooting lower scores. Whether you hit a 270-yard drive or miss a 12-inch putt, they both count a stroke on your scorecard. Some of us will never hit the ball 270 yards, and trying normally leaves us well short and well right of the target. Seems as though improving our putting might be an easier way to shoot better scores. Putting is about confidence. It's about feeling the greens, seeing the line, visualizing the ball going in the hole, and making a confident stroke. Harvey Penick says, never, repeat, never allow yourself to think about what's riding on the putt, whether it's a major championship or just a 50-cent wager. Hit the putt as you've hit 10,000 putts in the past. Concentrate on imitating your final practice stroke, not on what will happen if you either miss it or make it. A positive mind will cure a lot of ills. Think about it. Really, think about it. That's your Golf to Go. I'm Frank LaRosa.
Sacktown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
Man, this song was just massive. Wow, absolutely huge. My goodness, Soldier Boy, tell him what an era that was. That guy was top of the world. Of course, we cranked that, and then came up next with that. Just terrible.
Do you think he ever turned his swag off?
It was absolutely terrible. And him and Waka Flocka, for me, even though the songs are incredibly lit, just terrible music. Just absolutely terrible. Brendan, I know you don't agree with me.
I mean, they have their time and place. And like I said, like no handle, what is it? No handlebars or no handles or something.
Yeah. There's no hands. I think you
no
might
hands. That's what I'm thinking of. Elite Waka Flocka song.
Yeah.
And just crazy names. Waka Flocka Flame.
Don't ask.
Soldier Boy. And you spell it with a J. Like crazy names. And I just refuse to believe that this man ever turned his swag off.
I don't know if he ever had it on, would be my question. I don't know if I ever looked at Soulja Boy
you're
and was
tripping.
like, that man is dripping right now. There's definitely never thought that about Soulja.
I don't know what you're talking about. Clearly ahead of his time.
He literally had glasses that said Soldier on it, but it was like made in like
those were disgusting.
Joann's and like it had like some hand paint or something like that. They looked terrible. But that was of the time. You had the Kanye glasses too with the what did they call those? Man, why can I like blinds, almost like curtain blinds, you had those
I
glasses
know what
that
you're
had like
talking about.
slits cut all through them. They had, again, a chokehold on the culture for a couple of years there. Absolutely incredible. And yeah, definitely you're lying if you said you didn't own a pair, because I definitely owned a pair, and I thought it was the coolest thing you could possibly do. So there you go. There's your blast.
You could see absolutely nothing.
Not a single thing. Yeah, not a single thing at all. They were completely pointless as glasses, as they did not reflect any sunlight from your eyes at all. You just had in the Olympics here the 400-meter sprint. I guess it is. It's still a lap, but to have the 400-meter final just wrap up, I will not say who won it, but I will say it is probably about as exciting of a race as you're going to get in this Olympics. The 400 men's final just wrapped up, and oh my God, was it an exciting finish. You'll definitely want to check that out if you have not already seen it. If you can somehow avoid spoilers for primetime in Paris tonight, you are going to be in for an amazing, amazing finish in that 400 men's final. Definitely want to check that one out. The women's Team USA hoops just tipped off against Team Nigeria. No Mike Brown, of course, for the women's coaching side of Nigeria, but the U.S. women have just absolutely ran through the competition, as they tend to do every Olympics. That one just tipped off. It is still 2-2 at the start of the first quarter. Moving on to DeMar DeRozan, and I've been sitting on this audio for way too long. I told Brendan today, Brendan looked at the rundown and he said, hey, if you want to get to that Shams audio today, I'd be super down to talk about it. And I told him I just listened back to it again this morning, as it's been sitting in the rundown the past 2 days. I have no idea why I haven't played it yet, because I do think it leads to a very interesting conversation about DeMar DeRozan and his standing just in general in the NBA. And we had a caller or a texter, it might have been the other day, point to a potential DeMar DeRozan comparison that he thought that we should look into. Here's what Shams Charania had to say on with Udonis Haslem and Mike Miller on their The OGs podcast.
The Sacramento getting DeMar DeRozan. How are they going to be?
Love DeMar. Quietly doesn't get the credit he deserves for being a bucket.
How come he didn't get a bigger deal and it wasn't more active at the beginning of the trade of free agency?
Well, I think when the incumbent team isn't there for you as a suitor,
so your whole leverage.
That's the leverage point. But this is the second straight time, DeMar DeRozan has gone into free agency and he's had to go seek a sign and trade. His last two deals have been a combined 5 years, $141 million in a market where
that's crazy.
In a market,
think about that for a second. 5 years, 141 for DeMar DeRozan, and these dudes are out here signing 275 and 300s.
Woo-wee. Well, how about that? I mean, to me, that last part, that Mike Miller, that was, again, Mike Miller and Udonis Haslem, who I had no idea shared a podcast together, called The OGs, had Shams Charania on. It kind of seemed like that might have been during the Summer League, as there was a lot going on in the background there. But Brendan, in general, I mean, Mike Miller brought it up at the end. 5 years, $141 million for DeMar DeRozan over the last 5 years of his playing career. And we're out here talking about guys like Brandon Ingram, who are about to re-up for potentially 5 years, 200 plus. There's some other names out there as well that are seeking really, really high value. You see guys even like Lauri Markkanen, who I don't think a lot of people are going to say doesn't deserve it. But again, does it just point to, man, we really might have financially gotten a steal here in DeMar DeRozan? Do you feel like DeMar is underpaid, overly paid, or do you think he is properly compensated for the 35-year-old shooting guard?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you're talking 20 to 30 mil, I want to say it's 24, 25, 26 over the 3 years that he's in Sacramento, give or take 1 or 2 million. And if I'm off a little bit there, not exactly the guy to remember numbers off the top of my head. I will say I don't have a math brain. I'm more of a history or so brain, I guess you would say. But I think that when your peers, other NBA players or former NBA players are talking about like, why does this guy only get so much? That speaks volumes to me. It says a lot about how
Mike Miller's an agent as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Say that again. Sorry.
I believe Mike Miller is also an agent, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you might be on point with that. And if, like I said, if your peers are viewing you higher than what your financial value has been viewed around the NBA, there's two ways to look at it, right? It's either the GMs know a little bit more, but I'm going to tend to side with the players. The players know that this guy is high up on the scouting report, that you always got to account for him when he is on the floor. So if two guys that have been in the league for a long time, even if they no longer are sitting here saying, I cannot believe, essentially, I know they're not saying that straight up, that this guy has made 141 over the last 5 years. Not like that's nothing, but obviously relative to the perspective of the NBA as a whole, that says a lot to me. And clearly this guy is a point of focus on scouting reports, and that says a lot. So it just kind of, in my mind, reinforces the idea that the Kings kind of got a deal here financially for what they're paying DeMar for what he brings to this team.
No, and like we talked about earlier, I mean, the dude is I guess debatably, but more than likely a Hall of Famer, and you're paying a Hall of Famer in an NBA where you see LeBron James playing perfectly fine until age 39. Chris Paul's making $30 million at age 39. Kyle Lowry's still out there kicking at age 39. 35 is not the same 35 that it used to be in the NBA. And to your point, definitely makes you think if the Kings are maybe getting really good value out of a guy that should have a certain level of gravitas across the league. And for what it's worth, I did look up Mike Miller. And yes, this is the Mike Miller. Not only is he an agent, Brendan, you might be able to classify him as a super agent for what it's worth. First and foremost, we should have known this. One of Mike Miller's clients is Boogie Ellis, which is pretty incredible. I think there might be some Memphis ties into here as well, just in general. He is as well Alex O'Connell's agent. Ja Morant, he represents. He also represents Wendell Carter Jr., as well as Paolo Banchero, which I was
how long ago
unaware
did
of.
this guy stop playing? How? What? Like, not that I expect you to know the answer off the top of your head, but like, in my mind, this dude just stopped playing and he's already into the agency scene. And I will say, when we talked to Boogie Ellis on Friday, I think that he mentioned part of the reason he went to Memphis was not only Penny Hardaway, one of the greatest point guards of all time, Wiseman was there and all that controversy, but that Mike Miller was part of his decision to go there.
So that's super interesting. He went to Florida, Mike Miller did. So that's interesting that it's not his alma mater. He obviously did spend 7 years, the longest portion of his career, with the Memphis Grizzlies. So I think that's where the Ja Morant tie comes in. And that could definitely be where that Boogie Ellis tie comes in, where maybe he did kind of have some relationship with Boogie Ellis in his I think it was 2 years actually over there in Memphis playing under Penny Hardaway. So definitely seems. And there's a boardroom article right here. After a 17-year career, Mike Miller smoothly transitions into NBA agent life. So shout out Mike Miller for doing big things. Not only a 17-year NBA veteran, and I think everybody should remember when Mike Miller lost his shoe in the NBA Finals and was still a bucket, and then just smoothly transitioning into being an agent for two of the brightest young stars in the NBA. Definitely has his hands full with that Ja Morant one, but having Paolo Banchero in your back pocket as well, not too shabby for Mike Miller. And as we mentioned, we're going to play back from later last week when me and Brendan spoke with Mike Miller's client, one Boogie Ellis. We run that back right here on Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
What's the missing piece for the 49ers?
Which names will they add during free agency? Whether it's in season or off season, the coverage never stops. Get the latest 49ers news on Sacktown Sports and sacktownsports.com.
Why'd the kid jump off the boat?
I don't know. Why?
Peer pressure.
Oh, good one, Ned.
Ned isn't funny, but Ned owns a boat, and you don't. So every time Ned tells another one of his unfunny boat puns, you're going to laugh loud and keep on laughing until you get a boat of your own.
A pier where you put a boat.
Yeah, I get it.
And when you do get a boat of your own, make sure you save money by bundling it with your home, auto, or other vehicles with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by September 2nd, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
School is almost here, and if there's 2 things I can count on, it's my kids needing new outfits because they grow like weeds, and Kohl's stocking their favorite styles. With the back-to-school customer appreciation event going on, I scored 30% off tees, jeans, sneakers, and more when I shopped with a Kohl's card. No card? No problem. Rewards members save 20%, and everyone else saves 15%, plus earn Kohl's cash. When it comes to back to school, you gotta go back to Kohl's. Select styles. Some exclusions apply. Offer ends August 11th. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Maida Chevy saves you $12,000 off MSRP on every new half-ton Silverado LT Turbo Max. In stock after rebates. Always 5 to choose from.
Labor Day savings on now at MaidaChevy.com. Together, let's drive.
See dealer for details. Ends 9/3/24.
Live and local.
This is Sacktown Sports.
Absolutely, and I think we got Boogie back on here on the line. Boogie, so what was that you were saying about wanting to play for one of the best point guards ever in Penny Hardaway? What went into your decision to go to Memphis and then to eventually transfer over to USC?
Yeah, definitely. So, like I was saying, just coming out of high school, I was a scoring guard. I really needed to learn the position as best as I could. So, ultimately I decided, I wanted to go play for Coach Penny, and I had a great relationship with Mike Miller at the time. He had a great relationship with my family. So we just thought that it was best for me. And, I had also great relationship with James Wiseman, Precious Achua, and those guys. So we thought it would be great for us to, go somewhere and, make a difference.
For sure. Yeah, Boogie, this is Brendan. Talk to you a bit in Summer League, man. Appreciate you coming on the show. I believe that you shared that Alvin Gentry's son, I believe it is on the USC staff as well, and obviously a little bit of a connection to Sacramento there. Alvin, from my perspective, seems like the fun uncle that everybody loves to be around, but curious what your interactions have been like with Alvin and what sort of his messaging has been to you throughout this process.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just having someone around like that, he always told me, just to keep working and keep doing what I was doing throughout his years, seeing me play at USC. So just having that great relationship with him and having that relationship with his son, definitely, in this world, it's all about connections and it's about who you know. So just establishing those connections was really important and really helped me. Just having a voice and someone who, coaching the NBA that I can ask, what are things that I can get better at? What are certain things that I can, look for to, make my game better for sure.
Yeah, and what are some of those things that you kind of identified? I know you shared in Summer League, like embracing the defensive end of the floor a little bit more, but how do you balance kind of being yourself, but also changing your game to fit a role in the NBA?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, coming in, I knew, scoring the basketball wasn't going to get me on the floor. So just, guarding 94 feet, being a great teammate, being a leader, being vocal all the time, communicating, doing those things, and then just, letting everything else, what I've been doing my whole life, scoring the basketball, take care of itself. So just continue to do that, continue to understand the role, continue to understand what I can do, to help my team and do whatever, is asked.
Talking with Boogie Ellis here of the Sacramento Kings. Went crazy this summer for the Kings Summer League squad and earned him a nice little training camp invite as well. Boogie, Donovan Mitchell, I remember talking about after he was drafted and after he had an incredible rookie season. He said, I don't really understand why people are super surprised by me taking a leap because, you go from college where you have class, you have all other obligations to do, and then you just have nothing but free time. And he says, I got so much better just in that pre-draft process and throughout the summer. How much better do you feel like you are already just since leaving school?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like my game's definitely took a jump. I feel like, every year I've proven that I've gotten better every year that I was in college, and I feel like I can continue to get better. I feel like I haven't really reached my ceiling yet. Just got to continue to watch film, continue to learn the game, continue asking questions and doing the little things. And, I feel like I can get so much better by the time, I get to even by the time I get to training camp or by the time, the season starts. So just continue to get better every day, continue to work on my game, take care of my body, and, do all those little things.
Yeah, when it comes to translating all that to the NBA, like we kind of talked about, Boogie, what do you think? What do you view as your potential role with either Sacramento or just the league in general? And are there any players you look at and are like, that's what you think you could do?
Oh yeah, definitely. Guys like Jose Alvarado, Jordan McLaughlin, people like that, who come in the game, make an impact, come in the game and change the game. I just feel like I can do that at a high level. Just showing that I can come in the game, control the tempo, score as well, do whatever I change the game with defense, be a vocal leader on the team, just doing whatever is needed and doing whatever what is asked by the coaching staff. So I just feel like, I watch a lot of guys, Damian Lillard, Trey Young, a bunch of guys since I was a kid. Rajon Rondo, he doesn't shoot the ball as well as me, but why is he so great?
Right.
Just picking as much, getting as much knowledge as I can to make me the best basketball player that I could be.
I love that, man. Yeah, real student of the game. That's awesome. And you mentioned Jordan McLaughlin there. Two-part question, kind of. But have you talked with many of your new teammates and just even throughout the summer? What have you picked up from the vets like Keon Ellis, like Colby, like Mason, like even Drew Timme and Coach Christie? What has it been like to kind of be able to have those guys here?
Yeah, definitely. Just asking questions, picking their brain. Sometimes sitting back and see how they approach the game. Things like that. And definitely, we got some USC guys on the team,
yeah.
Jordan McLaughlin and DeMar DeRozan. So it's been pretty good. I've been talking to DeMar a little bit.
Nice.
Picking his brain. We're gonna start getting some work in with him next week. So that should be fun. But just asking as much as questions as possible. Getting as much as knowledge. As I can.
Yeah, for sure. Boogie Ellis here. I don't know that I'd realized there were 3 USC guys till you pointed it out. You guys could get a little 3-on-3 going between USC and Kentucky and just in Sacramento practices. But Boogie, the pre-draft process for you, what were kind of your expectations headed into draft night? And obviously going undrafted, I'm wondering if that gives you a chip on your shoulder and what ultimately made you pick Sacramento.
Yeah, definitely. One of my fears in life was definitely being undrafted, and I always told myself, whatever I do, I'm going to show up and do the work. I showed up, I didn't get picked. And there's nothing wrong with that, I feel like I'm better than a lot of guys who were picked, and people will find out soon. So, I worked with a chip on my shoulder. I already had a chip on my shoulder. I did great things in college, but I feel like I still have a lot of things to prove. I feel like a lot of people, doubted me throughout the draft process. I wouldn't say, overlook me, but that's fine. So I'm just going to continue to work, continue to do what I do, and soon here they'll all see, and all the teams will realize they made a mistake by not overlooking me.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible perspective. Boogie, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, man. We wish you all the best of luck in training camp and throughout the season, and we definitely hope to talk to you again sometime soon, man. Definitely, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yep.
Appreciate you, Boogie.
Absolutely. That is the newest Sacramento King in ways, Boogie Ellis. Amazing perspective there, hearing him talk about DeMar DeRozan, his relationship with the other USC guys on this roster. Like Brendan said, I would pay to see that 3-on-3 game right there. I know we were just talking about
Actually, it'd be a great
the 3x3, but I would definitely watch. What would that be? Malik, De'Aaron, and Trey against DeRozan, McLaughlin, and Boogie.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would definitely lead to some entertainment for sure. Really appreciate Boogie Ellis giving us a little bit of his time, and really appreciate everything he had to say there. That was awesome. And like I said, definitely wish him the best of luck throughout this season, whether it be in Sacramento, whether it be in Stockton, or whether it be somewhere else too. I mean, Boogie just seems like he's got a really good head on his shoulders, and, he definitely has all the right perspective. And I think he's going to be a really, really good pro, especially just even based off of what we saw at Summer League. You can tell that guy wants to work and get his way into the NBA. So definitely we'll be rooting for Boogie Ellis. Unfortunately,
you never know what you might hear when listening to a Sacramento Kings game.
Out of Keegan, going for another triple. Man, is he feeling it. Can he do it? Yes, there's number 11, Keegan Murray. Keegan steps back. He just knocked down his 12th three-pointer, a Kings franchise record. He's got 45 points.
Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with Sacktown Sports and the Sacktown Sports app.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go. I didn't think I'd survive. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there.
Covenant House helped me break the cycle of homelessness in my family. They gave me the love that I needed.
Over 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed tonight. When youth who are experiencing homelessness have a hot meal, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love, they can overcome heartbreaking challenges and have a brighter future.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding. I'm a speaker, I'm an author. Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
If you or someone you love is asking for help, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
The NBA app is everyone's app. Every fan of every team.
Oh my goodness.
Everyone who follows LeBron, Tatum, and Embiid in the app. Every warrior who's ready to go to battle over three-point percentages. Every streetwear king who's here for the tunnel fits. Every young buck, nugget, and grizzly who wants to take a peek behind the scenes of the league. And everyone else on this floating basketball we call Earth. Download the NBA app today. Available in the Google Play, Apple app, and Android stores.
I'm a very active person that likes to move around and go. The pain I was in was really excruciating. It was actually debilitating. I was basically heading towards a sedentary lifestyle. I had really tried everything, but I quickly lost hope with all of the things that we had tried, and that's what led me to the Good Feet store. And when I found the Good Feet system, it really just changed everything. It brought me back to life. I have my active lifestyle back.
The Good Feet store in Sacramento, Roseville, and Vacaville.
Carmichael Dave here for Capital Casino. Sacramento summertime heat is back. And of course, Cap Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room, wants to invite everyone to soak up some air conditioning, still with the most variety of table games in the region. And as always, the best food, best service, and the best action. conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. Capital Casino, of course, reminding everyone to please make sure you gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios, KHTK AM Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento, the only station in Sacramento giving you local sports coverage from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Sacktown Sports.
Boogie Ellis for giving us his time, and Isaiah Crawford as well for giving the Drive Guys his time yesterday. You can hear the Drive Guys coming up in just about an hour as we are heading into the final hour with me and Brendan. Again, you can hear Alan Stiles all this week in the mornings, holding it down for Carmichael, Dave, and Jason Ross, both of which are on vacation. And to peel back the curtain quite a bit, Brendan, especially hearing it back right there, I do want to give you a little bit of grief, as myself as well, because you proposing a 3-on-3 with Boogie, McLaughlin, and DeRozan against De'Aaron, Malik, and Trey, it's just not fair. It's not a fair matchup. I know I said it was going to be entertaining. Again, peeling back the curtain, kind of thought Boogie, there was like a chance he was still listening. They don't stand a chance, Brendan. Come on. What are we talking about?
Yeah, nah, he does not. And they do not. Malik and De'Aaron by themselves are outclassing. Dude, I feel a little disrespectful throughout the course of this conversation sometimes. And again, to, like you're saying, pull back the curtain. One of my struggles throughout this whole media process has been sometimes you got to be a little critical of these dudes,
for sure,
and understand that this is not personal. This is just work wise. I'm not talking about you as a person, but they are Jordan McLaughlin and Boogie Ellis are not on the same caliber. Let's be real. But I will say it's kind of cool. And I've done my research since. I think that you know this, but Boogie Ellis has asked a little bit after the fact if this is the first team to have 3 USC players on the same roster. And I did a lot of research, and let me tell you, the research was not the easiest thing to do. I am a guy that writes out my notes, and rather than flipping through my pages and attempting to show the YouTube side of the chat, I did a lot and wrote down a lot. And it seems as if, for what it's worth, if Boogie Ellis were to make the roster, this would be the first team ever to have 3 USC players on the same team.
Well, there you go. He can be a part of history. I think that's definitely something. Like you said, I know you had to do exhaustive research on that because that's definitely not readily available. So there you go. Something that you could potentially root for is the Sacramento Kings making history as the first team to ever have 3 USC players on one roster. Speaking of, earlier today, we mentioned a former Sacramento. There's Brendan showing his notes as well. Just absolutely psycho stuff. Color coordinated, all in cursive, all like
can't help
very
myself.
Structured and squared. Scary, frightening stuff there from Brendan Nunez. But again, yes, we talked about Jeremy Lamb retiring. Jeremy Lamb retiring this morning. You also get news of another former Sacramento King retiring. Brendan, I didn't think you saw this. This just crossed my timeline. One Kyle Guy has retired from basketball. The former Sacramento King, I believe he was a second-round pick of the Sacramento Kings after winning a national title with the University of Virginia, has spent the last 3 seasons playing overseas. Played the last 2 seasons overseas in Europe. He played with the Kings from 2019 through 2021. He will retire and join his old university, his alma mater, Virginia University, as an athlete development mentor and special assistant. Again, Kyle Guy will retire from basketball and join University of Virginia as an athlete development mentor and special assistant. So definitely hoping the best from Kyle Guy. Looking over at the Sack Chat here, you have Eric Burner saying, love this Boogie interview. Glad you guys played it again. He will elevate our team regardless if he is in Sac or in Stockton. Definitely agree with that. And I know we've said all day that it's been quiet on the Brandon Aiyuk front. I'm not joking when I say this is the biggest development I would say that we have had over the past 24 hours when it comes to the Brandon Aiyuk saga. Nate showed me this during the break. Nate, do you want to explain it at all?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Do you think we can just play it? No,
First of all,
explain it.
I'm excited about what this clip is. It's super weird clip. I was scrolling through. Obviously, we're checking info all day.
Yes, all day.
I come across Larry Kruger,
Yes.
his page on Instagram, who's a friend of the show. We've
Friend
had
of the
Larry
show,
on a
very
bunch.
much
Had him on Return of the Empire. It's a clip of the NFL Network. The guys are there. I believe that's Rappaport or no,
Garofalo.
Garofalo.
is
Yeah,
there,
yeah. They're the crew's out there, and they're talking, and he's like, yeah, it's a little awkward. We're having a we got someone behind us here. I guess we could just go to a wide shot, and you'll see in a second. They go to the wide shot, and someone's there. I'll just go ahead and roll the clip for everyone to take a listen.
All right, guys, it doesn't get much more awkward than this. I'm about to give you a Brandon Aiyuk update. And if we get a little wide right here. Hi, Ryan.
Oh, God.
Brandon Ayuk's agent, Ryan Williams, is in attendance here at Raiders practice.
Can we ask him?
Why does he not have a microphone? Well, why does he not have a microphone in his hand? Well, because he's declining comment. I asked him to come join us, give us an update, give us the best information he could possibly give. And he's like, nope, I am not commenting. He did say to me, nothing is done. He also said, stop paying attention to
Mike,
everything
just
you
yell
read
to
on
him.
X and think it's...
Ryan, if you could hear me. Say something, Ryan.
Okay, so screaming.
They get a little squirrely.
It's not,
They get a little
it's fun.
excited.
It's
We're all
summertime.
thirsty
It's
for
summertime.
news.
Yeah. But this makes me think immediately when I see this. Devontae Adams, Brandon Aiyuk trade. Obviously, talked about this before several times. I think the Niners would need to send something with Brandon Aiyuk to the Raiders. I kind of think Brandon Aiyuk would want to play there. I'd say it's better than New England. Similar quarterback problems, I'd say, but I guess, I mean, what do you want? Gardner Minshew or Jacoby Brissett? Those are your choices. But
no thanks.
I think they'd cash him out, especially if they're moving on from Devontae Adams. They have the money. They're not really paying a quarterback. It is weird that he's there. And Chris, you looked up Ryan Williams does not represent anyone on the Raiders as far as we know.
No, he does not. He represents Jake Matthews of the Falcons, Jahmyr Gibbs of the Lions, Brandon Aiyuk, of course, of the Niners, Shelby Harris of the Browns, Eric Wilson of the Packers, and the only other client besides those that he has that is a current NFL player is Kenneth Murray. He also at one point did represent Josh Rosen as well as Josh Norman as well. So is a well-known agent throughout the NFL, but does not have a single client that plays for the Las Vegas Raiders. What's up, Brandon?
For what it's worth, it looks like Jahmyr Gibbs, I don't know if you is also on his client list.
Yes, he is, yeah.
Shelby Harris, I don't know if you've said these, but Shelby Harris, Eric Wilson, and just to go down the line from what I am finding, and again, you may have already said some of these, but it's essentially Jake Matthews, Jahmyr Gibbs, Brandon Aiyuk, Shelby Harris, Eric Williams, which we're going Atlanta, Detroit, San Francisco, Cleveland, and Green Bay here, and Kenneth Murray on San Diego.
We just read all these, Brendan.
Yeah.
We just read all of these.
My fault. I made
okay. I was like, he's different.
Oh, good. I was waiting for something to be different. Nothing was different. No, you're totally fine. But yeah, I mean, definitely some weird stuff when it comes there to the Brandon Aiyuk saga here.
I'd highly recommend looking at this video. It is so uncomfortable. He's like the only guy standing right behind them. He's like 15 feet. Yeah. He's not even looking at him. He's facing the other way. He gave a little smile or something. It's surreal. It's getting out of control now.
This is definitely, to me, the most damning part of this. And I think it should definitely 100% be noted that, if I'm not mistaken, Nate, immediately after the Super Bowl, that infamous Snapchat or might have been an Instagram story from his brother, i.e. his best friend, said like something to the effect of, it's time to go to the Raiders, or like Raider Nation, or time to go to I'll pull it up if I can find it. But if I'm not mistaken, the first initial reports of Brandon Aiyuk being upset all the way back immediately after the Super Bowl, the first team mentioned for Brandon Aiyuk was the Raiders. And I know, Nate, we talked yesterday with Ben Ross quite a bit. To both of us, I think we agreed with it yesterday. A Davante Adams swap makes the most sense for both sides. And I think that's how this thing ends, in the most win-win scenario, where if you're the Niners, I don't see how you can complain with having a top receiver, someone who is better than Brandon Aiyuk. I'm sorry. I don't care. I personally think the Raiders should get something back on top of Brandon Aiyuk as well. It doesn't have to be a second or a third, but definitely like a 5th through 7th round pick. To me, feels like the Niners are coming out with a great player, and the Raiders get to set the clock back a little bit with a younger Brandon Aiyuk. Yeah. You get to extend him long-term. You don't have to worry about, he's very aware with what he's signing up for. And, there also has been a lot of connection with Antonio Pierce and Jaden Daniels as well. I think he spent some time at ASU with both of them, if I had to guess, because I know Aiyuk as well has a really good relationship with Antonio Pierce. So this whole thing has just had a massive wrench thrown into it, but it doesn't feel like we're any closer to anything. As a matter of fact, it kind of feels like we're further away than ever for Brandon Aiyuk to actually get dealt here. But
it just brings more questions. Yeah. Like you're saying, this is another wrench. This doesn't bring any answers for us.
No.
This is plain and simple, just more questions. Like, I don't know what to take from this. I'm taking what I want from it, and that's Davante Adams to be a 49er. What does that mean? What are they going to have to give up for that? I don't know. Who else on the Raiders roster is appealing that isn't Max Crosby, because they're not dealing Max Crosby?
Could you maybe take one of their young tight? I mean, I assume Brock Bowers isn't the one, but like Michael Mayer, I don't know. But again, I would much, much, much rather go for the Davante Adams chip.
The Niners still like tight end specifically. They had that dude, Cam Latu, who was just horrible in the preseason.
I've heard
last
he's
year.
Caught footballs this summer, which is an improvement.
I completely forgot about him until Emil, our insider, we were talking. He brought him up. I'm like, oh yeah, that guy's around, because he got hurt.
He got hurt after the last preseason game.
He didn't make a single appearance in the regular season. It's easy to forget. It's nice when your team's good, because you forget about all the silly, like, little things. So it's like, okay, we focus on things that matter. But another wrench in the situation. Does this mean a deal's going to get done today? At this point, I don't think a deal gets done today. I think we're pushing towards weekend, maybe a Friday drop or something.
Yeah, Friday tends to be the day where these things happen, and definitely we'll have to see how this thing develops, and if this is just yet another wrinkle that we now have to worry about. As I see 12 Mulatu in the chat here, I do feel like I need to read this out, because I think that it is a lot of people who feel this way. Normally, of course, I wouldn't just bash on a segment we just did, but 12 Mulatu puts so burned out on the Aiyuk stuff. Like, who cares about millionaire crybabies? Isn't there another narrative? I definitely think there is a lot of people who are feeling that way about this Brandon Aiyuk situation, that they're just tired of hearing about it. And let me peel back the curtain. I'm tired of talking about it. Trust me. But we have to, as it is. It's a dead period in the off season, first and foremost, but second off, this is really, really big, because it does also symbolize what the 49ers have been able to balance this entire time. It's been incredibly impressive that they've been able to honestly go this far without having to get rid of one of their players. This might be the first time where something actually gives, and it is too much for the Niners to take on. And so I do think that this is a very, very big part of this entire 49ers run narrative, is the fact that they might lose a homegrown receiver, because at some point you do have too many cooks in the kitchen that you do have to pay. And this also does tie in with Brock Purdy's contract as well. We will see how all of this develops moving on, but we have a very, very, very important on this day in sports history. It might be the most significant moment in baseball history over the past 25 years. That should tell you everything you need to know. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the Giants, because I know Brendan Nunez is feeling some ways about his Giants team that was they were at 500 for about a day and have since moved under 500. We're going to get Brendan's thoughts on history being made on this day and his thoughts on the Giants moving forward. You're listening to Stiles and Watkins right here, Sacktown Sports.
Our first year as the radio home of the San Francisco 49ers is one we will never forget.
And Logan Ryan picks him up. Looks like they're playing man. LaPorte is over there as well. It's 5 out. It's empty on 4th down. Goff back. Not going to get out to his right. Being chased. Throws, and it is incomplete. The 49ers take over on 4th down again.
Congratulations to the 49ers on a terrific year. And thank you for so many wonderful memories.
Jason Mraz and the Super Band. Live. The mystical, magical, rhythmical, radical ride. Friday, August 9th, the venue at Thunder Valley. Jason Mraz and the Super Band with special guest Molly Miller Trio. For tickets, visit ThunderValleyResort.com. Jason Mraz and the Super Band in concert. Pick up the new album, Mystical, Magical, Rhythmical, Radical Ride.
Sacramento, Dierks Bentley's coming to town. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo for Country in the Park 2. And he's bringing some friends. Parmalee, Tyler Rich, Dasha, Kelsey Hart, and more. Saturday, September 28th at Hart Health Park at Cal Expo. Get your tickets today before they're sold out at CITPFest.com.
Brought to you by RVs of Sacramento and Hoblit Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram Center.
The overshift is on, and Bassett, Steele, and Bonds hits one high. It's a deep. It is 7:56. Bonds stands alone. He is on top of the all-time home run list. What a special moment for Barry Bonds. And what a special moment for these fans here in San Francisco.
There you go. That was, in case you couldn't tell or in case you weren't already celebrating it for all you Giants fans out there. Today on this day in 2007, all the way back when the last time the Giants, I believe, had a 30 home run hitter in a season. Barry Bonds, 2007, sets the, at the time, record for, well, I guess it still is the record for home runs in a career, number 756. Brendan, I was in 7th grade when that happened. I believe that puts you in 6th grade, if I'm doing my math correctly, maybe 5th, which I'm sure is also dating us quite a bit, because there's some people out there, I'm sure, that are saying you guys were kids when that happened, which we definitely were. But I remember literally, and I don't think there's been anything like it since, but every time Barry Bonds was up at bat, I made sure, and this is pre-Twitter, so I don't really know how I managed to do it, but every time Barry Bonds was at bat, I made sure I was locked into that television as he was making that run to 756. What do you, if anything, remember about that chase?
Yeah, I mean, essentially exactly what you were saying, that I was locked in at any point that we were getting close to that.
Yeah.
And it was a dramatic finish. And anytime a ball went into the water, and I know that everybody says that park was essentially built for Barry Bonds. Anytime a ball went into the water, though, like there's part of obviously watching the kayakers going after it and stuff that makes for part of the fun. But for the most part, I'm just like, man, you really knocked it out of there. And nobody does it better than Barry, obviously.
No, nobody ever has. Nobody probably ever will do it better than Barry Bonds, regardless of what you feel about his off the field questions and things like that. Barry Bonds, the funnest player of my lifetime, and definitely have not felt that level of excitement about baseball ever since. So I think that should tell you something about maybe what draws in casual observers. And of course, they always say chicks dig the long ball. I think that's just a universal statement that everybody likes to see more and more home runs, and it feels like baseball has become more of the 3 true outcome kind of game where it's either a strikeout, an out, or a home run. But Brendan Nunez, how do you feel about your Giants as they currently are now back under 500? Just in general, I mean, again, how I think I asked you this the other day, just in terms of how you're feeling about the Giants' chances moving forward. But I maybe will even ask you about their contract situation with Blake Snell pitching better than he's pitched all year, at least. And then Robbie Ray as well. Both of those guys could potentially opt out after this year. Matt Chapman could also opt out after this year, after he's kind of started to bounce back quite a bit here in recent months. Are you afraid of the Giants' future, more so in terms of those 3 stars potentially leaving you, or do you feel good about your Tyler Fitzgerald, your Elliot Ramos, Luis Matos, and potentially Marco Luciano leading you into the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a combination of both, where I will say, as a little bit of a newbie to baseball, I've definitely been locked in this season, let me tell you. And as you have expressed, I think that's maybe more than the extent of somebody who is a little bit new. I have very much done my research and tried to understand where I'm coming from here. But at this point, I'm kind of like, in the NBA, let me start with this. In the NBA, I'm a big believer of you don't want to be in the middle.
Right.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
and I think that applies to all sports. So either fully lean into your youth movement or fully try to be like the more veteran players on this team are carrying us, and the more youthful players will learn from them and they'll be the next ones up.
Right.
I'd rather you lean into the youth movement at this point. I want Luis Matos back on the field. I will also add that I don't have the same appreciation or understanding for Yastrzemski necessarily.
You and Alan both.
Previously, people have, and how he plays that wall in right field and things like that over there at what is it? It's Chase Park at this point.
It is,
right?
Yeah. No, it's Oracle Park.
Oracle. Yes, thank you.
You knew that they took the name. Yes.
Yeah, close enough. It's down the street. You know what I mean? But at this point, I'm kind of leaning to the youths. I have no expectation of making the postseason. Now, if they were to sneak into that wild card, which they're, I guess you could say, kind of flirting with, it'd be good experience. But I would more so want that to be reps that the younger players got.
Yeah.
And would not have much expectations for wild card performances or anything like that. So at this point, also not really been a free agent hotspot, and very far from that, to be honest. Anybody in free agency, like, I'm more often than not going to assume that they're probably going to want to leave, and if they choose to stay, then I will be happy about that outcome. But I'm definitely not going to expect it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely wouldn't expect it at this point. I mean, Blake Snell kind of, he's going to look for the long-term money, especially at the pitching position. Like, your arm could fall off at any time here. There's a reason why a lot of these pitchers like to have these 5 to 10 year contracts and pretty much lock themselves down to be able to play through the injury, or at least kind of have a baked in injury season. And, it makes sense for Blake Snell after the year he's had to kind of cash in yet again on a fantastic season. So I would expect at the very least he's gone. The Robbie Ray thing I think is a little bit less of a guarantee. He still has a couple years left on his contract, but not at probably the dollar figure that he would ideally like. And then Chapman, I do think is a bit of a 50-50. Again, he started to play better here recently, but with his familiarity with the Bay Area as well with Bob Melvin, I also don't necessarily think that the grass is always greener on the other side. I think Matt Chapman's going to have that third base spot as long as he's going to want it there in San Francisco, because he is a pretty popular name, and his glove is still at a top level. So I wouldn't see why the Giants would want to move on from him at all on that front. So we will see how the Giants season continues. Again, they are in the thick of it in the wild card. They're definitely not your leading candidate or anything like that. But, in baseball, especially, one or two good series and you're right back into it. And that can be where the Giants find themselves if they can finally find some level of consistency this season. Coming up next, Brendan surprised me in the pre-show, and I've been waiting this entire day to hear why Brendan isn't sure that Harbaugh will work out in the NFL. I cannot wait to, even if it's not as in-depth as what I might hope, I cannot wait to hear why Brendan thinks that it might not work this time for Mr. Harbaugh. That's coming up next right here. Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Subscribe to Sacktown Sports on YouTube and watch the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross, Stiles and Watkins, and the Drive Guys. Live Monday through Friday from 6 to 6. Plus view archive shows and exclusive content.
Subscribe at youtube.com/Sacktown Sports.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave for American Energy Heating and Air with a question. Have you recently had a technician diagnose your HVAC system? You were a bit surprised at how much it cost, or did something seem off about their quote? Because at American Energy, they take pride in giving you honest, straightforward solutions to get that system up and running. Have their qualified technicians come out and give you a free second opinion. It's free. You got nothing to lose but some dollars off of that original quote. They're making the uncomfortable comfortable. They've been doing it since 1981, serving the greater Sacramento area. A+ with the Better Business Bureau. That's why they keep having customers coming back for more and more and more. You can call them and set that appointment at 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990 or AmericanEnergyAir.com.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more. And then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Sacramento Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram off Business 80 next to Hagen Oaks or online SacSuperstore.com. Big inventory and the right deal. Experience it for yourself and see why their customers drive away smiling. It's the Sac Superstore difference.
Not to brag, but Progressive's Name Your Price tool is mankind's greatest tool ever. Even better than the wheel. Sure, without the wheel, we wouldn't have modern transportation or funny videos of dogs riding skateboards. But without the Name Your Price tool, we wouldn't have easy access to auto insurance options based on our budget. And, well, cars do need wheels. They also need insurance, and insurance never goes flat. Learn more about the greatest tool ever, the Name Your Price tool at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Savings. Now that's speaking the Lowe's language. And when you join My Lowe's Rewards for free, the savings just keep coming. Save money with member-only offers, plus earn points when you shop. More points equal more rewards just for you. Because Lowe's knows you earned it. Literally. Learn more about our loyalty program at Lowes.com/MyLowe'sRewards and become a member for free today. Program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. See Lowes.com/terms for full details. Subject to change.
Sacktown Sports. Call or text at 916-339-1140.
I've mentioned this Fresno Pro-Am a couple different times throughout this week, and I'm just shocked by the pull that Fresno has here. I mean, this is for the Celebrity Fresno Pro-Am game. I believe I saw it's happening August 10th or sometime here coming up pretty soon, which obviously August 10th would be this weekend. Over there up in Fresno, or I guess that would be down there in Fresno, the confirmed for the Celebrity Fresno Pro-Am basketball game, Paul George, you got Jalen Green of the Houston Rockets, you got Rudy Gay, and joining him is his former Kings teammate as well, Isaiah Thomas. You have AJ Johnson, you have current Sacramento King Orlando Robinson, you got Quincy Pondexter, and you got Chris Haynes of TNT and Bleacher Report. All will be attending the Fresno Pro-Am. So if anybody,
Chris Haynes is playing,
he might be. If I'm not mistaken, he did do. I think he organized like a media game, like with some of the bigger NBA reporters. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't surprise me. And he's talked about playing. I remember on TNT in Sacramento here once, he talked about playing in a Filipino league here in Sacramento. So I know he balls. I'm not sure if he's just going to be doing sideline stuff or if he will actually be playing in the Pro-Am. But, you know, in order for it to be a Pro-Am, you do have to have the Am part of it. And I would say Chris Haynes definitely qualifies as an amateur. So, Brendan, is there any chance we can get you out to a Pro-Am to play?
Man, if I get invited, I will show up. Let me tell you. But the goal is to get to a point where I am invited to these type of things. But yes. I will add that Jalen Green and who's the other? Paul George.
Yep.
Both Fresno guys in a way. Paul George went to Fresno State.
Yeah.
And Jalen Green kind of came up in the Fresno area.
Did he really? I actually didn't know that. It says he's born in Merced on Google, but that would definitely make sense.
Shout out to Kayla's family.
He's a NorCal guy. And he was the what's the name of it? It's essentially mixtapes, and I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head, but I had high school teammates who were talking about I can't remember the name of it, but there were some mixtapes that people were talking about where Jalen Green was absolutely a hot topic as somebody that grew up in NorCal while he was coming up.
Maybe like a Yair is finest kind of thing, or like it's
it's more on like the jelly side. It's
gotcha.
Like it's some sort of mixtape thing. And
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
I can't remember the name, but I will get back to you tomorrow on our show.
Yeah, no, that definitely doesn't surprise me. Jalen Green screams the kind of dude who probably has a ridiculous high school mixtape. I mean, he's got crazy hops. He's got the flow, the hair flow to really to send it home. And then, yeah, I mean, the dude's a crazy shifty player. And yeah, I mean, he can high fly, he can shoot. I could imagine in high school he was an absolute problem, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, like you said, he's a NorCal guy. I think he might have played over there at Prolific Prep over there in Napa, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, definitely an absolute problem. I can tell you that right here, right now. Brendan, before we get into your Jim Harbaugh take, I do real quick want to as well mention something that you talked about or you brought to my attention in the pre-show. And we're not going to have enough time to get into the Zach Edey angle of this. Maybe we can talk about that tomorrow. Today, obviously, it would be a little bit more timely. But if we have the time tomorrow, we'll talk about how Canada's run might have been more difficult because Zach Edey wasn't playing. Definitely excited to hear your thoughts on that. But you also had to hear people have turned on Jordy Fernandez. I just want to know what exactly you were hearing or seeing on that front.
Yeah, essentially that this guy, Jordy Fernandez, who was defensive coordinator for the Sacramento Kings last year, was running a very switch-heavy scheme.
Oh, you're talking about from a Sacramento perspective, people were upset. I assumed that it was from a Team Canada.
Yeah, no, it is more a Canada perspective, but I do think this applies to the Sacramento Kings, where they were switching a lot and running a very small lineup, which is where I think the parallels run a little bit between Team Canada and the Sacramento Kings, which again, Jordy Fernandez, defensive coordinator for the Sacramento Kings last year. A lot of people just questioning, which, there's some just being like, oh, SGA should have been running the show and certain things on the offensive end. But defensively, even like Trey Lyles not playing that much. We talked about it on our last show. I believe it was Monday.
Yeah.
Of they're running a fairly small lineup and going with sometimes like RJ Barrett is out there playing the 4, or Lou Dort is out there with 2-3 other guards. And I am not going to sit here and pretend like I think Jordy is in the wrong for this, because more often than not, I think you should just get your best players on the floor.
Right.
As long as you have a center and you have a guy that can bring the ball up the floor, I lean more towards positionally talking 2, 3, 4. Doesn't really matter in the same way that it did before. But I've definitely seen a lot of Canada people wondering what the heck was Jordy Fernandez doing. And it just might be a record time for a head coach to be getting slack already at this point. He just got hired with the Brooklyn Nets, obviously.
Yeah.
And I just was surprised to see on my Twitter timeline that this man was already getting crap.
Yeah, and I will say, I did end up pulling up a couple tweets that are questioning Jordy Fernandez. One says, "I'm back again. Jordy Fernandez needs to be fired for giving him 24 minutes." And it is a quote retweet of Jamal Murray. It's about 25 seconds of Jamal Murray just dribbling around in a circle and not moving the ball at all. Another tweet is, "WTF is Jordy Fernandez doing with all these new rotations and sitting Shea for half of the first quarter playing Jamal." Sorry, this is written a little poorly here. All these new rotations and sitting Shea for the half of the first quarter while playing Jamal. Now's the time you mess with the rotations and chemistry ? F this. So there is definitely a good portion of people for sure that are out there upset about how Jordy Fernandez is handling Team Canada, one of which is not Dylan Brooks, who actually had some really nice words to say about Jordy just as a person as well. He said, quote, this is from Dylan Brooks, "He's a special person. He's a fighter, and he sets the tone for everybody else. We've been very fortunate to have him. He's been amazing in his role, what he means for the group. We're all very happy to have." Oh, this is Jordy Fernandez on Dylan Brooks. I read this wrong. I was like, the next sentence is, "We're all very happy to have Dylan Brooks, and if I could, I would have him on my team for the rest of my life."
Hey,
So
well, some people talk about themselves in third person,
Yeah.
so I don't blame you. There's a
Okay.
couple of those out there for sure.
I'm glad I clarified that. That was actually Jordy Fernandez on Dylan Brooks, not Dylan Brooks on Jordy Fernandez, though. Yeah, like you said, as a matter of fact, funny enough, too, it would specifically be Dylan Brooks who talks about Dylan Brooks in third person. So apologies to everybody on that one. Brendan, I hope I don't have it mixed up with this one. You presented me this morning. You have some thoughts on just why you're not sure. You're not saying it's not going to happen, but just maybe why you're not as sold as some others on why Jim Harbaugh will be a success with the Los Angeles Chargers. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm a little torn on this because I understand the aspect of Harbaugh did take the Niners to a Super Bowl where obviously competed against his brother, the Ravens, light shutout, and all that. But I think there is a difference between what makes you a good college coach, where you are coaching just always what are younger players.
You can be a little bit more of a disciplinarian.
Absolutely. And I just felt like that was the criticism of Harbaugh, is that sometimes guys that are making tens of millions of dollars, and sometimes that's times 4 or 5 at a point, aren't going to, they don't want you to be the disciplinarian. Like, you can tell me what you think is best, and that may be a whole nother different conversation about, I don't necessarily like if you're a player that's responding that way just because you get paid, that may say something about you rather than them.
Right.
But the reality is there's a lot of guys like that exist.
For sure.
And I don't know. I wonder a bit is all how much Harbaugh's seemingly hard-nosed and essentially like telling you this is reality, this is what it is, that has clearly worked in college and
Yeah.
have questions in the NFL, even if he has used a Super Bowl, again, as I've mentioned. I just wonder if that is going to be received properly. I
definitely think it's a very fair question to have for sure, especially like you said. I mean, I think Harbaugh has definitely, Jim, has rubbed people the wrong way his entire career, really. I mean, it's not even just, even at Michigan, I mean, there's a ton that's going on with the Michigan program right now, but he's, to your point, always been somebody who is, I mean, he's a football lifer. He lives, eats, and drinks and sleeps football. This man is absolutely obsessed. And you're right. Like when you're $40 million diva, whether that be even somebody as credentialed as a Trent Williams, when a person like that doesn't show up to camp, Harbaugh doesn't see the nuance in it. He doesn't say, oh yeah, Trent Williams has been around the league a couple times. And oh yeah, what's the point of him, maybe risking injury? Harbaugh says, no, don't you love football? If you love football, come play. And I don't want people. He's a little bit like John Gruden in that sense, where again, it is just, no, I see things one way. And if you don't love football, then we don't see things the same way. And I do think at a professional level, I think it's a perfect point that college just is not the NFL. Now, people will throw back at you the success he had in San Francisco. And I know you're not acknowledging that, but let's also acknowledge that, when was that, Nate? You definitely probably have a better idea that he wrapped up in like 2012, 2014, Harbaugh did, right? Or am I even, is it later than that?
Last year, I believe.
I'm sorry, but like that's 10 years ago at this point. I don't think kids, and I shouldn't say kids, but I don't think the clientele really, I'm pretty sure in the past 10 years, just generationally, it feels like there's been a big shift in how athletes want to be treated, no?
Yeah,
Brandon,
I
sorry,
definitely think that. And I think that for the most part, the fact that he was successful but not brought back says a lot, and a lot of what I read during that time was that it was just the way that he communicated things. Yeah. And again, it's a lot different the way you communicate things with college players. And this was pre-NIL. Yep. Which adds a whole different asterisk to this whole conversation. But I think that adds a lot compared to how you would communicate with guys that are, to be blunt, they're making more money than you. Yep. So they're going to look at you a little bit of a different type of way. And you need them to trust that what you're saying is for the best, because they're not just going to blindly listen to you because they're still trying to figure out their path in life.
Yes, absolutely. And you have a lot more control over their path in life when you're in college too, than when you're in the NFL. Obviously you can transfer and all that, but your college coach just has a lot more power over you, frankly, than you do in the NFL. So I definitely think that's a great point. And I think it is definitely something to monitor for sure is how Harbaugh is going to deal with the human element of being a coach, because that definitely was a shortcoming. And we've seen some great coaches in the past, i.e. Chip Kelly. You can X and O all you want, but if you don't know how to properly communicate with your guys, really doesn't matter, because that's the part that has to come through more than anything. Coming up next, Brendan continues to try and get my blood boiling in our last segment. He has questions about Sam Darnold being the starter in Minnesota and why I've been hyping up my guy, JJ McCarthy. We also ask Brendan, with the NBA schedule potentially coming out sometime next week, what game and what matchup is he most excited to see the Sacramento Kings play next season? We talk about that as we wrap things up right here on Stiles and Watkins, Sacktown Sports.
Keegan Murray plays here.
Keegan scores another three-pointer. Keegan Murray knocking it down for 23 points. Match De'Aaron Fox for game scoring honors.
Sacktown Sports is your proud home of the Sacramento Kings.
There was always a crowd gathered around our dining table when I was growing up. Hi, I'm Frank LaRosa with a word about Naturewood Home Furnishings. Everyone was welcome at my mother's table, so holidays, birthdays, and celebrations always included family and friends. I used to think I was the most popular kid in the neighborhood until I realized that my friends were really there for my mother's incredible cooking. Years later, when I bought my own dining table from Naturewood, I made sure it was large enough to make friends feel welcome. And right now, during Naturewood Home Furnishings Dine in Style sale, you have an opportunity to find the perfect dining room furniture to help you create your own treasured memories. Choose from casual to formal or anything in between. Visit Naturewood Home Furnishings during the Dine in Style sale off Highway 50 at Hazel. Look for the water wheel.
The Gold Rush Classic, where the stars and guitars shine. The Gold Rush Classic is a celebrity pro-am golf tournament, a $1 million hole-in-one contest, a celebrity challenge, a draft party, a farm-to-fork dinner, and a concert under the stars. The Gold Rush Classic raises money for Make-A-Wish, Jordan's Guardian Angels, local youth sports, and other worthwhile children's charities. The Gold Rush Classic takes place August 22nd and 23rd in Rancho Murrieta. Do you want to golf with basketball royalty like Reggie Fias, Olden Polynice, or Greg Ostertag? Or is golfing with an NFL Hall of Famer like Tim Brown more your style? Play golf with celebrities like Jesse Orozco, Greg Floyd, Michael Merriweather, or our own Greg Vaughn. Sponsorships are available at goldrushclassic.org. The Gold Rush Classic is sponsored by Adrian Blanco Jeweler in Folsom, your family jeweler. Style Magazine Reader's Choice Award winner and voted best local business.
I would end the day with sore feet, sore legs. The drugstore inserts that I was purchasing were really not very useful at all. I walked into the Good Feet store and the guy kind of grinned at me and said, I hear that a lot. I was living with chronic pain before going to the Good Feet store. Now I don't really have that problem. I'm able to do the things that I expect to be able to do, even at my advanced age. I feel pretty good about what's going on.
The Good Feet store in Sacramento, Roseville, and Vacaville.
Only one radio program captures the excitement of hunting and fishing as it happens. The award-winning California Sportsman with Sep Hendrickson. Only California Sportsman takes you where the action is. Live on the water, live in the blind, and live with the top pros and experts in outdoor sports. California Sportsman with Fishing Hall of Famer Sep Hendrickson is your premier destination for all things outdoors. Sep's Saturday Morning Outdoors. Ultimate Bass and California Sportsman, 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. Saturdays on Sacktown Sports 1140.
Sponsored by Xfinity Internet. Enjoy ultimate control of your home network. Personalize your Wi-Fi name and password. Assign user profiles. View and control connected devices and more with the Xfinity Internet app.
Increase leads and get more customers. We create tailored digital marketing strategies that deliver results. On your next campaign, aim higher. Go to aimyourdigital.com and get started today. aimyourdigital.com.
Local.
Live and local. This is Sacktown Sports.
Drive, guys, coming up in about, 15 minutes. You got Whitey Gleason. I believe one Christopher Gabriel will also be filling in for Whitey Gleason. He's been filling in all week. I'm pretty sure he will continue to do so. If not, don't blame me. So definitely want to wait about, again, 15 minutes for the Drive guys to come on up and sub for me and Brendan. Brendan's been filling in all today. He was here earlier this week and on Friday as well. I believe me and Brendan will be taking you the rest of the week in this midday slot. You can hear Alan Stiles all week. I think he's rocking solo all week in the mornings, holding it down for Carmichael, Dave, and Jason Ross, who are also on vacation. And I mean, you just have everybody out here not working except for me and Brendan and Nate and Simone and Alan and Drapes. Actually, Drapes is actually in town. So good to have the skeleton crew that we do have. And real quick here, I did just see on my timeline, maybe this makes Brandon Aiyuk a little bit more willing to go to Cleveland. There are pictures that have just circulated, renderings, if you will, of the Cleveland Browns unveiling their new $2.4 billion domed stadium. So the Cleveland Browns not long for the outdoors. It does get very, very cold out there in Cleveland. And if I'm not mistaken, Cleveland was that rainy game last year where Brock Purdy struggled quite a bit and had a couple loose balls. And, his widow hands couldn't hold on to the football too well. So seems like the Browns will no longer be playing in the elements. They will be playing underneath a dome in the future. I don't know when those plans are set to get into motion, but that could maybe potentially probably not likely help Brandon Aiyuk make his decision. And again, still no news exactly besides the fact that his agent, for whatever reason, is watching Raider practice right now. No word on why that is. And what we do have word on is, as we talked about the Raiders' unofficial depth chart yesterday and what they're doing with their quarterback situation, Brendan Nunez, again, is trying to get my blood boiling by putting in the rundown Sam Darnold is reportedly the starter in Minnesota, ? Yes, Brendan, he is. Ian Rappaport put out today that the Vikings, yesterday, that the Vikings list Sam Darnold as their starter in their initial depth chart. Nothing 100% official for the regular season, but not really a surprise that slinging Sam Darnold is going to be the starter in Minnesota, at least for the time being. And I do want to emphasize for the time being that we have slinging Sammy as our number one. Brendan, are you okay with that? Is it okay if my team decides to, I'm going to call him sacrificial Sammy, and I'll tell you why in a second, but do you have a problem with my team sending out Sam Darnold for a couple weeks?
I have no problem with it because I hope your team sucks.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, like, Sam Darnold is fine. As Niners fans, we've been through it a little bit with Sam Darnold.
A little.
And all I'm going to say is that you clearly were not the biggest. You know what? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. All right. Sorry to be outing you here.
It's fine. I probably already.
You did not want JJ McCarthy before the draft.
I was very hesitant to go all in on JJ.
Yeah, we can call it hesitant. That's fine. And clearly, that's the direction that they went in.
I watched the tape.
Since then,
I watched tape.
Exactly. Since then, you have watched the tape.
Yep.
You've seen things coming out of Vikings training camp that have clearly made you bought in.
Yeah.
And so my curiosity is, if this is supposed to be your future guy, how are you feeling that it's coming out that your supposed backup coming into this may be taking that starting spot over what is supposed to be the future of this league? Or not this league, this team.
No, you had it right the first time, this league.
No.
Like I said, sacrificial Sammy, unfortunately, is going to get thrown out there for the first 5 weeks of the season, 6 weeks if you count the bye, and then we're probably never going to hear from him again. It is what it is. JJ McCarthy is absolutely lighting it up in training camp right now. I read this stat yesterday, but I'll read it again. This is from NFL Rookie Watch. This is JJ McCarthy's rough start, which a lot of people have commented on. Oh my gosh, they post one video of quite literally his only interception during training camp and have tried to pose it as if he's struggling. JJ McCarthy has completed 89% of his passes in training camp, and this is, of course, in training camp, so take it with the biggest grain of salt you possibly could. 22 passing touchdowns, 1 interception for one JJ McCarthy. It has been absolutely insane to watch JJ play from all reporters that are out there, cynics and shills alike. Everybody has been out there in Minnesota saying JJ McCarthy is lighting it up. Let me read for you the Vikings' first 6 weeks. The New York Giants, that's their only hope for a victory. I will spoil the entire point of me reading these names. The New York Giants, week 1, that is their only hope. Week 2, I'm not naive. They're playing the San Francisco 49ers. That's an L. Houston Texans week 3. That's an L. At Green Bay in week 4. Guess what, partner? That's an L. Playing the New York Jets in week 5. Though I would love it if Aaron Rodgers loses to the Vikings one more time, that's probably an L2 regardless of who's playing. Maybe I think JJ could potentially shift maybe 1, maybe 2 of those games. But honestly, what's the point? The Vikings aren't going to be that great this season anyway. And if JJ McCarthy is great, I don't see why you would want him to necessarily go play against some of the best defenses in the Houston Texans specifically and the Niners. I'm okay if my future quarterback doesn't lose that confidence in the first couple weeks. So that's what I will say about the sacrificial Sammy conversation there. Moving on to the NBA schedule release, and we did do this yesterday at about this time as well with Ben Ross, so I will try to not repeat myself too much for those who tune in every day to Stiles and Watkins all the way through the end. We appreciate you, but normally the NBA announces its schedule for the upcoming season sometime in the middle of August. Over the last 3 years, the NBA has announced on Friday, August 18th, Wednesday, August 17th, and then 3 seasons ago, they announced it the latest that they have Friday, August 20th. According to vividseats.com, the NBA will release its schedule sometime, this is a quote, sometime between Friday, August 16th and Tuesday, August 20th. Funny enough, on their projected date for the reveal of the NBA schedule, they have it listed as Thursday, August 15th. So I guess you could say August 15th through August 20th is the predicted schedule release date. I did mention this yesterday, but again, I will reiterate. There have been 3 games that we already have confirmed that the Kings will play in the preseason. The Sacramento Kings themselves have not confirmed it. However, other teams have released their entire preseason schedule, and these are the ones that they have listed the Sacramento Kings being involved with. You have the Kings versus Warriors on October 11th. That will be at Chase Center at 7 p.m. You have Blazers at Kings on October 13th. That'll be at 3 p.m. And you have Kings at Jazz on October 15th at 5 p.m. Brendan, I would assume that we will get at least one more game revealed. And I would assume that at least one of those games will be a Kings home game, as the Blazers one is the only one that we currently have listed being at Golden One Center. In general, when we talk about the regular season, is there a specific matchup you most want to see? Yesterday, we talked a good bit about the Warriors and Lakers matchup. So if you could try and avoid those two. And then what is your prediction for game 1? That's always a game that the Sacramento Kings account likes to post. If you predict game 1, I think they'll give you free tickets to the game. So give me your prediction for who the Kings play the game 1, and then who is the matchup you're most looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, I think for game 1, it probably should be something that has a little bit of drama carrying over from the year prior, and leads me to think either Warriors or maybe a little bit of Pelicans.
I was afraid.
Where I think you may have thought I was going there, and
do it.
Like,
just get that monkey off your back game 1. You might as well, right? Get the win, and you don't have to worry about it the rest of the year.
That's what I'm saying. I think it was Draper that was talking about it yesterday, or maybe it was yourself, of eventually law of averages has got to even out here. And let me tell you, going into that play-in game, I had the exact same thought. So I'm not going to say that that's a flawless strategy here, but I think that there's a little bit of something there. I also think that the games against Chicago, San Antonio, Toronto are going to be a little bit fun, because DeMar is now one of the stars of this team. And obviously he's got some history with those, Toronto more than others. I think playing against Brooklyn is going to be fun throughout the course of this year, with Jordi Fernandez obviously being their head coach. I know you asked me to not pick Warriors Lakers, but honestly, if I had to project first game of this year, it's hard for me to not pick a division rival.
Yeah.
And I think that the Warriors are the closest thing that the Kings got this season. Like I said, I think the Pelicans could be mixed in there as well. But for the most part, those are the two that I would really look at. And I think that the Kings should be favored in both of those matchups when it comes down to it.
Well, that's Nate playing us off right now, as we do have to go. I do think that's a great shout, though. I think the Pelicans games, and then, we always talk about revenge games for the Kings or against the Kings. It'd be nice to be on the other side of one of those revenge games with DeMar DeRozan. Like you said, Bulls, Spurs, you get the whole list of them, Raptors as well. Brendan will be joining me tomorrow. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You got the Drive Guys coming up next right here on Sacktown Sports.